Chapter 1. In the room, there was a man sitting by the bed. His expression was calm, and there was a trace of seriousness. However, his heart wasn't calm, and he was even stunned. 3 days, I can't go back. Lin Fan's mind was in a mess. He remembered that he was at the subway station. In the subway station, something unpleasant happened. He fought with 2 big men. At that time, he was full of momentum, and he started with Wing Chun boxing. However, in less than 3 seconds, 2 punches the size of sandbags came at him. With a bang, he didn't feel anything at all. When he opened his eyes, he was here. At first, he thought that someone was playing a prank on him. However, one had no one's place. He was so normal that he couldn't even be considered a passerby. Who would play such a huge prank on him? The furniture in the room was made of dark red wood, and there was a fragrance in the air. It was worth a lot. Today was the 3rd day. He had just arrived and didn't dare to walk around. He didn't know anything and didn't know where he was. This is a little tricky. Didn't the novels say that one's soul will have memories? Lin Fan scratched his head and felt really annoyed. He walked in front of the mirror. It was really clear. He had looked at it many times. It looked exactly the same as him, just that his hair was a little longer. He didn't know if his soul or body had transmigrated. In different worlds, there were definitely 2 people who looked exactly the same. However, the current situation was a little awkward. Suddenly, Lin Fan pulled up the clothes on his left arm and looked over. When he saw the scar on his arm, he was stunned. This is my original body. He didn't dare to believe it. How'd he do that? Everyone would have a mark on their left arm. It was the mark of a vaccine when they were young, and it was hard to remove. He calmed down for a moment. Forget it. Since I am here, I will just take things as they come. I'm not afraid of anyone. It is just another world. What is the big deal? After hiding for 3 days, he didn't want to hide anymore. He had to walk out the door and look at this foreign world. However, where was his golden finger? Without any benefits, how could he survive? On Earth, he was already so sh*t. Would changing places change anything? Lin Fan was in deep thought. However, he still didn't believe it. There should be some changes. He didn't think about all this. As an ambitious youth, even if he was in a foreign environment, he had to be brave and take the first step. He pushed the door open and walked out. Outside was a large courtyard with fake mountains and flower beds. The home of the nouveau riche. Looks like my luck is pretty good. In this foreign world, I should be a rich kid. Lin Fan was very satisfied with his current situation. He used to be unable to imagine what the life of a rich person was like, but now he should be a local tycoon. How could he not enjoy it in the future? He passed through the arched door and left the courtyard. He had been thinking about a problem. He should be a young master of a wealthy family, but he hadn't seen a single servant in the past 3 days. No one even brought breakfast, lunch, and dinner. His stomach was growling with hunger, but he was afraid of being in an unfamiliar place, so he endured it for 3 days. Fortunately, there were pastries in the house, so he barely managed to survive. At this moment, a servant walked over. When he saw Lin Fan, he had a weird expression and said respectfully, "Young master, why have you come out?" Lin Fan nodded. "What happened? Since you know I'm the young master, why would I need anyone's permission to come out for a stroll?" In order not to make others feel uncomfortable, he knew that he had to watch more and speak less. The servant lowered his head, looking a little strange. Young master was different from usual, but he didn't dare to ask. Lin Fan coughed to moisten his throat. He acted like a young master. Accompany young master for a stroll. The servant wanted to remind him, but he knew young master's temper. Even if he said it, it would be useless, and he would make young master unhappy. He could only follow beside him. This place was too unfamiliar. He had to bring someone just in case. At the corner, Lin Fan was stunned. He stopped in his tracks and nearly bumped into him. He wanted to rely on his identity to holler in an overbearing manner. "Are you blind? Don't you know who I am?" Such an overbearing and furious roar was something that he didn't have the right to say in the past. However, forget it. Low profile. Lin Fan raised his head and looked. A male blocked in front of him. He was really muscular, square face, really majestic, but he was really young. Around, many people looked at Lin Fan. The courageous won in a narrow path. Lin Fan noticed that the way the male looked at him was a little weird. He didn't look like a servant, so he definitely had a high status. However, no matter how high his status was, could he compare to him, the young master? The people behind the male shook their heads and smiled bitterly. Just at that moment, everyone's mouths were wide open in shock. Lin Fan raised his hand and patted the male's shoulder. "Brother, can you please let me pass?" It was a very polite greeting. Although he didn't know who he was so young. Maybe he was his brother or even a relative. It shouldn't be a problem to call him brother. "Old master." The servant that followed Lin Fan held some silver in his hands. Young master wanted to go out to play and had no money, so he went to get it. When he returned and saw young master and old master meet, he headed forwards. His soul nearly flew away. That old master shocked Lin Fan so much that he wanted to ascend to the heavens. What? Please make it clear. Were they playing with him? The person in front of him, who was around his age, was actually old master. Didn't that mean that he was his son? Scoff. A furious scolding came from the square-faced male's throat. "You dare to bring your master out? How arrogant." His voice was like thunder, like the roar of a beast. His voice was really loud. "Put on." The servant knelt on the ground. His face was ashen white from fear. "Men, drag him out and beat him to death." The male said solemnly, "Old master, spare me. I won't dare to do it again." The servant was so frightened that he nearly peed his pants. He kowtowed, his scalp broke, and fresh blood dyed the green brick ground. Lin Fan was stunned. Which family's landlord was so arrogant to actually treat human life like grass? Looking at the expressions of the people around, they were used to it. Beating a servant to death was a small matter. After which, 2 muscular guards walked out. Seeing that they were about to take the poor servant away, Lin Fan couldn't just ignore it. "Stop!" He stepped out, reached out, and stopped the 2 of them. With his size, if he wasn't a young master, the 2 guards would be able to beat him to death with just 2 moves. "I will take responsibility for what I did. I came out myself, so what does it have to do with him? That isn't how you punish a chicken to warn the monkey. If you have problems, come at me." Lin Fan was a righteous person, otherwise he wouldn't have been beaten up by the 2 men at the subway station. Of course, he was a young master, so no matter what, they couldn't do anything to him, right? The servant knelt on the ground. He raised his head, and tears covered his face. He stared at his young master in disbelief. He didn't expect that at such a time, young master would actually speak up for him. Gratitude. As a servant, his life was thinner than paper, not worth mentioning at all. He often used the life of a servant to show his might. At the same time, he gave the master a way out, turning the small matter into nothing. As for servants like them, they were forgotten by people. The better ones would have their corpses wrapped in straw mats, and the bad ones would be tossed into the wilderness with no one caring about them. Congratulations on activating the small support system. A voice rang out in his mind. Was this a cheat? Lin Fan, who was addicted to novels, closed his eyes and could say thousands of things for you. Not to mention other things, if you really wanted to talk about novels, a box of beer would be able to make you lose all love for novels. Since he said all the things, then what was there for him to read? Very quickly, Lin Fan reacted. He saw something that wasn't there before. A few lines of data attracted his attention. Lin Fan. Physique, 9 internal strength, 0 heart cultivation, none cultivation technique, none rage points. 10. It was a little weird. Lin Fan didn't understand. The cheat was activated just like that. Also, what were these rage points? Was it? He thought about a possibility. "Ha ha, Brother Lin, your son is really bold." The middle-aged man standing at the side laughed. Looking at his luxurious clothing, he gave off the aura of an important person. To prove the truth, Lin Fan directly opened his mouth. "Aren't you talking nonsense?" "Of course he is." The rage points jumped from 10 to 30. Lin Fan had an idea. It seemed like this was the key to activating the cheat. Just by thinking about it, he would understand. However, his young father was really angry at him. Why did he only give 10 rage points? Who knew who this fellow was, but he gave him 20 rage points. Or, he was so useless that he didn't have any hope. That was possible. Unfilial kid. How can you speak to old Master Yuan like that? Did you cultivate the vengeful tiger blade technique? Lin Wani scolded. Old Master Yuan's expression changed. It was obvious that he was furious. However, he still smiled. It is okay, it is okay. Your son is a straightforward person. I won't blame you, I won't blame you. Lin Fan already knew his identity and status. Although he didn't know the situation. Just because he was his son, he didn't fear anything. Would he be so angry that he would chop him to death? However, wait, cultivation technique? What world was this? Wuxia or something else? Calm down. He had to calm down. He couldn't panic. No, Lin Fan replied. Rage +5. The increase was too little. Was he really so useless? His heart was filled with despair. So he didn't have any hope? Lin Wani suppressed his rage. Why didn't you cultivate? Towards that question, Lin Fan didn't know how to reply. Cultivate what? At least he had to give him the cultivation technique. Who knows where your son threw the cultivation technique to when he was still alive? I don't know where it went. Lin Fan replied honestly. That was the truth. Lin Wani's chest shook a little. The rage was unbearable. Scram. Okay, I will scram now. Without waiting for Lin Wani to say anything, he pulled the servant on the ground and ran. Rage +100. Lin Fan, who had already run into the distance, found it weird. He increased by 100 just like that. Lin Wani's face turned green. Unfilial kid. He really was an unfilial kid. He shook his head and sighed. His heart was filled with sadness. What was he going to do in the future? Old Master Yuan consoled him. But in his heart, he was smiling. As expected from the rumors. P.S. New book. Please help me collect it. Thank you. Chapter 2. Thump. The servant beside Lin Fan immediately knelt down and kowtowed in gratitude. His voice was choking. Thank you, young master, for saving my life. I have no way to repay you. From today onwards, my life belongs to you, young master. Whether I climb a mountain of blades or descend a volcano, I will never frown. If I have any other thoughts, I will be struck by lightning. Lin Fan was shocked. The people here were so honest, kneeling just like that. Didn't their heads hurt? All right. Hurry up and get up. This young master doesn't want to play around. He helped the servant up and asked, What's your name? The servant said, Young master, I am a lowly person. Before I entered the Lin family, my name was Zhao Guangyi. After I entered the Lin family, I could no longer use my previous name and could only call myself Shaorun. Lin Fan nodded his head. This was his first time here, so he had to have his own people. Okay, from now on you will be called Gozi and follow me. Thump! Gozi knelt down once more. This time, he kowtowed even more heavily. He even started crying. To be given a name by Master was an honor. Thank you, young Master, for giving me a name. From now on, Gozi belongs to young Master. If young Master wants me to die, Gozi won't even frown. Get up, Lin Fan said. What kind of world was this? Why did it feel so weird? Gozi, let me ask you a question. Lin Fan leaned close to Gozi's ear. Who was the person you called Old Master? Gozi listened carefully, but young Master's question stunned Gozi. He didn't react, and when he saw that there was no one around, he said softly, Young Master, that is your father. Old Master's name is Lin Wani. If the servants were to find out that they called their master by his name, they would be flogged and beaten to death, was a common thing. He really was a father. But wasn't he too young? Then how old is my dad? Lin Fan asked. Initially, he wanted to call him Old Fellow, but after thinking about it, he decided against it. It wasn't good to be too arrogant. It was good to have a father. At least someone would take the blame. 60, Gozi said. Lin Fan looked at Gozi, his gaze like he was saying that he was joking. You look like that, and you're telling me you're 60? 18 is more like it. Let's walk around. Lin Fan wasn't in a rush to ask so many questions. He would find out eventually. Now, he had to figure out the situation around him. Lin Fan asked Go-Zi, and Go-Zi told him everything he knew. If it were an ordinary person, they would definitely doubt where this fellow came from. Why didn't he know anything? But Go-Zi wouldn't think so much. He only knew that he would belong to young Master in the future. She would answer whatever the young Master asked. After a long time, Lin Fan knew that he had indeed arrived at a fantasy world. This city was called U City. The Lin family was an aristocratic family in U City, but it wasn't the only one. There were two other families. The three aristocratic families supported U City. Gozi, he didn't know much about the inside story. After all, he was just a servant and usually stayed in the Lin family. So how could he know so much? But Lin Fan already knew the basic situation, especially his position in the family. It was a little awkward, but not too awkward. The sole heir of the Lin family. No mother, only a father. He had no interest in cultivation. Liked to enjoy. They ate, drank, and basked in the sun. Their days were extremely comfortable. For this kind of behavior, Lin Fan agreed. He was the son of a rich family. If he didn't enjoy it, he wouldn't have risked his life. He liked these days. But this U City is a little broken. Lin Fan raised his legs, and his feet were covered in mud. The roads of U City were made of mud, and when it rained, one would die. The vendors at the side of the road were selling. The shops on both sides were calling out customers. Lin Fan thought back to the small support system that he activated. He had an idea, but he still wanted to test it. Beside him was a stall, and the vendor was selling some small things. Lin Fan walked forwards and smacked the stall. There was a loud explosion, and the things fell to the ground, dirtying them. The vendor was furious, but when he saw Lin Fan, he knelt on the ground. "Young master, spare me, spare me." This was the Lin family young master. As a normal commoner, who didn't know about him, he was obviously furious. Why wasn't he here? "I am sorry, I recognized the wrong person." "Compensation," Lin Fan said. He turned around and left in confusion. Gozi took out some silver and passed it to him before following young master. The peddler, on the other hand, was dumbfounded. He didn't understand what was going on. He looked at the silver in his hand and smiled. Just one silver was enough for him to live for a long time. He walked around U City, and there was nothing worth paying attention to. He could only say that who was the city lord of U City? He didn't know how to actually develop a city to such a state. What a waste. However, thinking about it, U City didn't have a city lord. Sigh. Regret. Gozi followed behind young master and scratched his head in confusion. What was going on with young master? Why was he sighing? In the past, when young master went out to play, he was really crazy. He returned to the Lin Manor. "Gozi, if there is nothing, don't disturb me. I want to be alone." Lin Fan pushed open the door and said, "Yes, young master." Gozi replied. Lin Fan nodded his head and closed the door. His solemn face slowly changed into a smile. "Not bad. Although this city is a little old and broken, you are indeed the son of a rich landlord. Enjoy, I have to enjoy. What blade technique with my body size? How can I use a blade?" Who knows who is playing with whom? The first thought in his mind wasn't to cultivate, but to enjoy. What was the point of cultivating? It was to stand out. Just like reading a book, Lin Fan knew his place. People with less than 50 points in 3 subjects didn't have the right to talk about standing out. He laid on the bed. The mattress was really soft and comfortable. He had nothing to do, so he thought about the small support system that he activated. There was no harm in studying it. Does the number behind physique represent my current stamina? He was a little confused, but that should be what it meant. 9 points of physique shouldn't be too bad, right? If this body was the one that was beaten up at the subway station, then this 9 points should be a powerless existence. The column behind physique glowed, and there was a plus. Is this a point addition? Lin Fan wasn't a noob who didn't know anything. He had played many games before, killing monsters to level up, accumulating attribute points, and then distributing them wasn't difficult at all. With a thought, he added it. Ding! It jumped. The numbers jumped. 9 became 10. The original 135 points of rage instantly turned to 35. Physique. Tin Lin Fan looked at his body. There weren't any changes on the outside. But just now, he vaguely felt a heat flow in his body, and then it dissipated. My strength seems to have increased by a little. An illusion? Interesting. Lin Fan smiled. If this is cultivation, then it's much easier than studying. Since I am here, then while enjoying life, I will add points to add some fun to my life. As for working hard to cultivate, don't talk to me about that. It is meaningless. Chapter 3. Now he understood. Rage points could be added. Simple and convenient. Based on the previous experiment, the vendor was obviously angry, but he didn't gain any rage points. This meant that their status and strength weren't enough to form rage points. One word: weak. Apart from this possibility, there was no other possibility. Just at that moment, Gozi's voice spread from outside. Young master, old master sent someone to send the vengeful tiger blade technique over. Lin Fan walked out of the house and took the manual. He smiled in his heart. This cheap dad still hasn't given up. He still hopes that his only successor can walk the path of martial arts. He flipped through the secret manual. He took a rough look and found it uninteresting. He then tossed it to Gozi. Keep it safe for young master. I'll look at it again when I have the chance. Gozi wanted to say something, but hesitated. Young master, it's better to listen to old master and practice. No matter what, at least you'll have a skill to protect yourself in the future. Lin Fan looked at Gozi. Gozi, what do you mean by that? You don't want to protect young master? Gozi was stunned. He lowered his head and looked at the technique in his hands. Young master, I patter. Lin Fan patted Gozi's shoulder. Work hard. I have high hopes for you. In the future, young master's life will be in your hands. His eyes were moist. Gozi's eyes turned red as he knelt on the ground and sobbed. Don't worry, young master. Even if I die, I won't let you down. At this moment, Gozi, who was once useless, suddenly realized that he had a heavy responsibility in his life. The young master actually entrusted his life to him to protect. Get up, Lin Fan said. Gozi wiped the corner of his eyes and stood respectfully at the side. He held the technique in his hands tightly and placed it close to his body. Come, let's go out for a walk. Where are the good restaurants? Lead the way, Lin Fan said. It was no secret that the master had grounded the young master. No servant dared to disobey the master. But now, he was already the young master's man, so he had to be at his beck and call. Even if he had to go through a mountain of knives or a sea of fire, he wouldn't hesitate. He left the courtyard. The Lin mansion was very big, with many houses. A big family was indeed a big family. At this moment, not far away, a loud and clear sound could be heard. Lin Fan was curious and followed the sound. He found many people standing on the empty ground, waving their fists and legs. Every time they waved their fists, the green tiles on the ground would shake. Tranquil. The leader of the group was a man with a muscular body and dark skin. His arms were as thick as Lin Fan's thighs. Cousin, why are you here? When Zhou Zhongmao saw Lin Fan, he was a little surprised and a little helpless. His cousin's condition wasn't temporary. It had been like this since he was young. It was the same no matter who said it. Although his uncle didn't say much, he knew that his uncle was anxious and didn't know what to do. The great Lin family still needed her cousin to lead it in the future. But her cousin was not interested in cultivation. Lin Fan looked at the big guy in front of him. Standing in front of him was like a huge mountain. Nothing much. I just came to see how cousin is doing. What kind of cultivation technique is this? Interesting. Lin Fan asked. This is the demon's sweeping fist. Cousin, are you interested? I will immediately send someone to deliver the cultivation method, Zhou Zhongmao said. He was trying his best to get Lin Fan to cultivate. Lin Fan waved his hand. I'm not interested. You guys take your time. I need to go out and spend some money. Gozi, let's go. Yes, young master. Gozi replied. There was no rage. Lin Fan was thinking about it. His cousin was a little weak. When he walked out of the Lin Manor gate, he stopped. Rage plus 20. Who was angry at him? This small support system was a little bad. Whoever was angry didn't have a name. In the huge Lin family, who was the angriest was Lin Wani. The moment he received the notice from the servants, this kid ran out again. He told someone to send the vengeful tiger blade technique over. He thought that he would work hard to cultivate it, but who knew that he would just leave? If he wasn't his only son, he would have slapped him to death. Lin Fan brought Gozi to a restaurant, Drunk Fragrance Pavilion, one of the top restaurants in the city. When Lin Fan appeared, the waiter at the door walked up warmly and served him. Young Master Lin, please enter. Lin Fan swaggered in. After coming to this foreign world and becoming the son of a rich family, he naturally couldn't neglect his usual carefree lifestyle. In the building, he chose a spot where he could look at the scenery of city. "Give me all the best stuff you have here," Lin Fan said generously. "Okay, brew some tea for young Master Lin," the waiter shouted, and then left to the kitchen to get people to prepare. Lin Fan looked at the scenery of city. He had a rough understanding of the Lin family situation, but he didn't know anything about the outside world. Even Gozi didn't know. Just what kind of world was this strange world? Low martial world? High martial world? If it was a low martial world, then his life would be much better. But if it was a high martial world, then it would be a little problematic. I was wondering who it was. "So, it is the Lin family, young master. I heard that you were locked up at home, so why did you run out? Aren't you afraid that old Master Lin will take you back and beat you up?" A voice spread over. Lin Fan turned around and saw a male holding a fan and smiling. However, his smile towards Lin Fan was filled with disdain. "Who are you?" Lin Fan asked. The male's smile froze, and then he scoffed. "Young Master Lin, why act like you don't know me?" Lin Fan sized him up and said in disdain, "You aren't my son, so why would I know you?" "You." The male stared at Lin Fan in rage. He actually dared to insult him. Rage plus 50. Lin Fan laughed in his heart. Not bad. He actually had rage points. It seemed like he was right. Anger wasn't something that everyone had. Normal people wouldn't increase his rage points. It seemed like it was because they were too weak. Scoff, useless trash. The male was unhappy. He stared at Lin Fan viciously before finding a place to sit down. The waiter went up to serve him. This was the young master of the Liang family. "Gozi, who is he?" Lin Fan asked. Gozi was stunned. He thought that young master purposely didn't know him, but who knew that he really didn't know? "Young master, he is the Liang family's third young master, Liang Yongqi." "Oh." Lin Fan looked at Liang Yongqi, who sat not far away. Since he had nothing to do, it was good to use this fellow to draw some rage points. Eating a meal and gaining some rage points was a good thing. He then whispered into Gozi's ear. Gozi looked at young master in shock. He didn't understand. However, he still left in a well-behaved manner. Not long later, it was a little noisy downstairs. Gozi's voice spread out. More and more people came up. The people who came up weren't dressed properly. Their hair was messy and their faces were dirty. There was also a pungent smell that spread in the air. Especially since the weather was so hot, the smell was really shocking. "Pa!" Liang Yongqi drank the wine and sniffed. When he saw a bunch of beggars come up, he smacked the table in rage. "What are you doing? Who let them in?" "Shop owner. I think you don't want to do business anymore." There were old and young beggars here. When they came to such a luxurious place, they were all afraid. Especially when they heard that scolding, they were terrified. Some of the more cowardly ones wanted to leave. The owner of Drunk Fragrance Pavilion was in a tough spot. On one side was the Lin family young master, and on the other was the Liang family third young master. What should he do? "What are you doing?" "What do you want to do?" "These are my friends. I booked the entire place and invited them to eat. If you aren't willing, then pack up and scram. Don't be a hindrance here," Lin Fan said. "You." Liang Yongqi stared at Lin Fan in rage. He didn't expect that he was the one who caused this. Rage plus 60. Lin Fan took a look. "If you want to eat here, then eat. If not, then scram. No one is stopping you. If you aren't happy, then hit me. You're just the Liang family third young master. I am the Lin family young master. I can't compare to you." Rage plus 100. Liang Yongqi's face turned red from anger. He clenched his fists, and there was a faint white glow on his fists. Arrogant. Arrogant. But very quickly, he relaxed his fists. Like what Lin Fan said, even if he wasn't happy, he couldn't hit him. The Lin family wouldn't let him off. "Very good. Lin Fan, just you wait." Liang Yongqi kicked the table over, and the dishes scattered all over the floor. He left right away, not prepared to pay at all. Lin Fan smiled. "Shop owner, it is okay. If third young master doesn't have money to pay, just put it on me. I'm happy to help the poor." Liang Yongqi, who was about to head down, was so furious that his body trembled. He took out a silver and smacked it at the wall. He left without even turning his head. The silver was embedded in the wall, and one might not be able to dig it out. Rage plus 200. Lin Fan smiled. Comfortable days. This was the life of a rich person. Shopkeeper, make arrangements for my friends and bring out the best dishes. Lin Fan said. Wine and meat stink, and there were frozen bones on the road. No matter where it was the same. Looking at the people that Go Z found, they were as thin as firewood, about to become skin and bones. Looking at these kids, how pitiful were they? In the past, when they had nothing to do, they loved to donate $10, $20. How could one look at them? Those beggars thought that they were dreaming. It wasn't until the fragrant delicacies were served that they realized it was all true. They kowtowed to thank him. Lin Fan wasn't used to this, so he said, don't do such useless things. Eat and drink well. I will pay for everything today. Go Z, who was standing at the side, wanted to say something but stopped. Young master, we don't have enough money. Chapter 4. The news of the Lin family's young master treating the beggar to a meal at the Drunk Fragrance Pavilion was spread by passers-by. The commoner's first thought was that it was impossible. It was too surreal. It was even a little unrealistic. How could these rich families be so kind? In the eyes of the noble clans, their lives were as cheap as ants. But when they saw those beggars coming out of the Drunk Fragrance Pavilion with greasy mouths, everyone was stunned. It was as if he had seen a ghost. For ordinary people, they definitely couldn't afford it. An ordinary meal cost 1 tael of silver. The purchasing power of 1 tael of silver here was equivalent to about 1,000 yuan. The Drunk Fragrance Pavilion shopkeeper rubbed his hands, feeling a little uneasy. Young Master Lin, a total of 103 silver taels. I'll round it up for you. 100 silver taels is enough. Bill. Lin Fan waved his hands for Go Z to pay. The shopkeeper heaved a sigh of relief. It was good that the shopkeeper was willing to pay. If young Master Lin didn't admit it, then even if he was angry in his heart, he couldn't fall out with the Lin family. Young master, we don't have enough silver. Go Z said softly. It was a little awkward. The young master was generous. If an ordinary person didn't have such wealth, they wouldn't be able to afford it at all. Lin Fan was stunned. What was going on? There was actually such a thing? You must be joking. No matter what, he was still the young master of a big family. Yet he said that he didn't bring enough money. Worthy of his identity? Did he still have his own style? At this moment, the shopkeeper's heart creaked. Although Go Z's voice was soft, the manager heard it clearly. He didn't have enough money, so was he going to dine and dash? Manager, bring a pen and paper over. I will write an IOU, and you can ask for it from the Lin family later. Lin Fan said. The shopkeeper looked at Lin Fan in confusion. Go to the Lin family to ask for it. He wouldn't dare to do that, even if he was given 10 guts. Forget it, come back with me. Lin Fan could see that the shopkeeper's expression was a little weird, as if he didn't dare to go to the Lin family to collect the debt. What he wanted was anger. If you wanted to eat and drink here, you definitely had to pay. You can't bully others. Moreover, this was also a bit embarrassing. Fortunately, that guy just left. Otherwise, if he stayed, he would become a joke and lose all his face. The Lin family courtyard. Drunk Fragrance Pavilion shopkeeper was a little reserved when he arrived at this place. He followed behind Lin Fan carefully and cautiously. His mind was filled with many thoughts. He was even wondering if the young master of the Lin family had brought him here to silence him. Go Z, bring the shopkeeper to the accounting room to settle the bill. Lin Fan said. Yes, young master. Go Z replied, and then brought the manager into the distance. Lin Fan returned to the courtyard. He didn't want to care about anything else. It was just money. With such a huge family business, they had to spend it with all their might. He had thought about it. While enjoying life, he would gain some rage. The only people who could endure the anger without doing anything dangerous to themselves were their family members. Take a look at your own situation. He didn't have much interest in cultivation. He felt that it was a little tiring, but now he was just adding points. This kind of relaxing life was still very comfortable. Lin Fan constitution, 10 internal strength, 0 mental cultivation, none martial arts, none rage points. For 65-inch interesting. Rage points can be added. Doesn't that mean I don't have to cultivate myself? This is a good situation. Lin Fan nodded silently. His constitution jumped from 10 points to 11 points. His rage value decreased by 100 points. At this moment, he felt that his body was a little stronger. He looked in the mirror. It was much better than before. If he used other people as a model, this 11 points might have been low, but to Lin Fan, the change was huge. He continued to add points. Rage points decreased by 300. Physique increased from 11 to 14. Pung! A low sound rang out in his body. He pulled open his clothes, and there seemed to be a ball of energy swimming under his skin. Surprisingly, muscles were gradually emerging. His fingers grabbed onto the wooden table. If it was before, he could only move a corner with all his strength. But now, he used strength, and the 4 legs of the table were lifted into the air. I'm much stronger, not bad. I told you, coming to a rich family is definitely to enjoy life. So how can I cultivate so hard? This small support system perfectly avoided all problems. How big of a change was a 14-point physique compared to before? He didn't know. However, he knew that in the future when he had nothing to do, adding points to have the ability to protect himself was not bad. However, he had to find a long-term source of rage points. Just at that moment. Rage plus 50. Rage plus 100. Rage plus 200. 350 rage points increased. What is going on? I am in the room and didn't offend anyone. Who gave me 350 rage points? Lin Fan thought about it. He didn't understand. Lin Manor Hall. Old Master, Young Master invited many beggars and refugees to Drunk Fragrance Pavilion, and he borrowed 100 silver. He has already passed it to the manager. An old man stood at the side and said, the one who spoke was the Lin family accountant, Old Wu. His age was similar to Lin Wani, and he had been in the Lin family for over 60 years. He really didn't expect Young Master to spend so much at Drunk Fragrance Pavilion. In the past, Young Master didn't like to cultivate, but at least he didn't squander. Now he actually started to squander. That was something he didn't expect. Lin Wani listened to the report with a cold expression. A ball of anger burned in his chest as he gritted his teeth. Unfilial kid, because he was too angry. So angry that his body was trembling. Old Wu sighed. Old Master's literary talent was average, and he didn't like to study when he was young. He wasn't good with words. He had been by Old Master's side for so long. The 2 words he heard the most were unfilial kid. Tell this unfilial kid to scram to see me. Lin Wani raged. He didn't stop worrying about him. In the courtyard, Lin Fan laid on the bamboo chair with an umbrella over his head. He held an iced fruit in his hands and slowly sent it into his mouth. Gozi stood at the side, holding a fan in his hand and waving it. The weather is a little hot. Lin Fan said, Young Master, it is a little hot. It hasn't rained in a long time. Gozi said, Lin Fan loved to add points. The rage points that he had just obtained were used by him once more. Physique, 18 inches the blink of an eye. It increased by 4 points. He felt like he could kill a cow with one fist. Gozi, take out that blade technique and let me take a look. He didn't look at it carefully before, so he took a look. Now that he had nothing to do, he decided to take a look. Gozi hurriedly took out the vengeful tiger blade technique. If Young Master was willing to cultivate it, that would be the best thing. Lin Fan flipped page by page. It wasn't a top cultivation technique. It was just a book that taught one how to use a lousy blade. It wasn't interesting at all. Gozi served as Young Master at the side. He wasn't anxious at all. After a long while, Lin Fan passed the cultivation technique to Gozi. The data of the small support system changed. There was a change in the cultivation method column. Cultivation technique. Vengeful tiger blade technique. Unlearned. He was left with 15 rage points. He tried to add them, but there was no reaction. At that moment, footsteps spread out. Gozi, who was holding a fan, knelt on the ground and said respectfully, Old Wu. Lin Fan turned around. The person who came was the Lin family accountant. He grew up with Lin Wani and had a high status in the Lin family. He wasn't as young as Lin Wani, and his face showed signs of age. His sideburns had white hair and his back was a little bent. He had a smile on his face. Young master, old master is calling you over. Old Wu said. Understood. Lin Fan replied. The huge Lin family. The only one who could give him rage points was that cheap father of his. Go Zi wanted to follow, but Old Wu stopped him. Old master was furious, and if a servant followed, he might be affected. Lin Fan agreed with those words. He was that fellow's son, but Go Zi wasn't. It was tough for him to get a subordinate. If he was killed for no reason, who would he find to get him back? Young master, don't make old master angry. Old Wu said, this Lin family still needs young master to lead us. Lin Fan smiled brightly. Understood. Old Wu looked at young master's half-hearted smile. He suddenly felt like he had nothing to say. Chapter 5. Lin Family, Main Hall. Young master, what happened? Old Wu saw young master suddenly stop and asked curiously. Lin Fan shook his head. Nothing, I just felt a boiling, killing intent. Old Wu was filled with regret. He was helpless against young master's situation. If he wasn't the only heir, with old master's temper, he would have slapped him to death. Old master, young master is here. Old Wu said, and then retreated to the side. Lin Wani stood with his arms behind his back facing Lin Fan. The main hall was really quiet, and one could hear heavy breathing. Unfilial kid kneeled down. It was only the third day since he dared to walk out and accept the foreign world. Now he was just too young. Moreover, this old monster who was his father wanted him to kneel down right away. There had to be an explanation for this. Great Qing died a long time ago. He didn't want to kneel. I won't kneel, Lin Fan said. Old Wu, who was standing at the door, raised his head and looked at young master in shock. What was going on? Young master wasn't like this in the past. Rage plus 30. Lin Wani's hidden rage was drawn out right away. He searched for something in the main hall, like he was about to attack. Not good. If this went on, it wouldn't be good for him at all. His identity was someone else's son, so it was natural for a father to beat his son. Lin Fan muttered and suddenly thought about a sentence from a novel he read in the past. When he read it, based on the introduction in the novel, be it important characters or passers-by, they were all shocked by those words. Thinking about that, he stepped forwards, straightening his back and raising his head. He said passionately, we martial artists are indomitable, shouldering the heavens and stepping on the ground. With one breath in our hearts, we will kneel to the heavens, to the earth, and to our parents. If we kneel normally, our aura will dissipate, and we won't be able to achieve anything in our life. Old Wu's eyes lit up as he stared at Lin Fan, like he didn't expect young master to say such words. Lin Wani was stunned. Like he was stunned. Lin Fan was delighted. What a joke. If he couldn't even suppress this, then what was the point of living? Authors who could write books were all talents. A bottle of beer could blow up the earth. Nonsense. Lin Wani scolded. Martial Path Grade 12. You aren't even a Grade 1. What are you going to use to support heaven and earth? When I was your age, I'd already made a name for myself. What about you? His voice was as loud as a bell. Even though he was so close, his hair was shaken by the sound. Oh my God. Lin Fan really wanted to die. It wasn't easy to be a rich young master. Also, his words were too insulting. He muttered, what do you use to support it? What do you use to stand up? Then I'll definitely use my head to stand on my feet. His voice was soft, but it was still heard. Rage plus 100. What are you mumbling about? Lin Wani's face turned green. He really couldn't understand why he had such an unmotivated son. No, I didn't. Lin Fan immediately denied. Now, the situation was not good. If he continued to farm rage, something might really happen. Therefore, he had to be steady. He could not panic. He couldn't be too hasty. Old master. Since young master can say such words, it means that he is ambitious. Why not give him some time? He will change. Old Wu said. He saw Lin Fan grow up. Naturally, he wouldn't look on and do nothing. Old Wu helped to speak up. Lin Wani just stared at Lin Fan. He took in a deep breath. He suppressed the rage in his heart. However, he still said furiously, Scram now. I will give you 7 days. If you don't teach me the vengeful tiger blade technique, then scram out of the Lin family and die on your own. Okay, then I will scram first. He still had to do what he had to do. Although his father looked really young, he was already 60. It was okay for him to act like a coward. However, didn't Lin Fan suspect his personality? Or was it that this fellow's personality was similar to his? Or were they carved from the same mold? Rage plus 60. The moment he left, another 60 rage points entered his account. He felt that it was really simple and not difficult at all. He had been thinking that if he kept targeting one person, would it really turn into a blood feud? Impossible. Definitely impossible. Which father would kill his own son so viciously? Moreover, he was already so useless. It wasn't something that could happen in a short period of time. The pressure he had to bear had to be really high. Old Master, we both know about young Master's personality. It is tough to change in such a short time. You can give him some time. Old Wu said. He was born in the Lin family and cared a lot about this young Master. Lin Wani's expression was solemn as he sighed. There isn't much time left. Yu City is at the border. Once the 20-year deadline is up, he will be the first to be attacked. He doesn't even have the ability to protect himself, so how can he not be anxious? Old Wu didn't say anything. Each 20-year deadline was like a blade hanging on his neck. Lin Wani waved his hands and walked toward the back hall. Looking at it, it was like he wanted some peace and quiet. Yuan family. Father, you seem to be in a good mood after coming back from the Lin family. Did something happen? A teen asked. He was a direct descendant of the Yuan family, Yuan Tianchu. The Yuan family had many descendants and many children. Even as the family head, he didn't remember how many children he had. Tianchu, you don't know. Today I saw the true face of the Lin family young master. As expected, he lives up to his name. In less than 3 years, his Lin family will fall. Everyone says that he is a hero, but his ability to have a son is not good enough. Today, he was insulted by this kid at the Lin family. If he wasn't worried about Lin Wani, he would have taught this kid a lesson. However, it was okay. Let's see how long he could continue. Yuan Tianchu smiled. Father, I heard that Lin Fan treated many beggars and refugees to a good meal at Drunk Fragrance Pavilion. He even had a conflict with the Liang family, third young master. He is just a piece of trash, and he dared to provoke Liang Yongqi. I was thinking why I didn't kill him then. The Yuan family head laughed out loud and said firmly, he is a fool and will end the Lin family. There is no rush. Let's see how he does in a year or two. Lin family back courtyard. Lin Fan laid on the bed leisurely. His days were really comfortable, although he was beaten up by his cheap father. But he didn't lose out at all. What a waste. His expectations for me are too low. If he raised them and I suddenly became like this, then the rage points would be huge. Lin Fan shook his head and felt a little regretful. While enjoying life, he could raise his strength so easily, so why not? This small support system was made for him. At this moment, he looked at the contents of the small support system. He was in deep thought. Should he continue to add points? Or should he get the vengeful tiger blade technique to the basics? Forget it. I will give you face, and let me get the vengeful tiger blade technique to the basics in 7 days. If I don't, then I will die on my own. I, Lin Fan, am a person who wants face. Don't make it sound so bad. I don't want face. I will get it in less than a breath. Are you afraid? Add points. Vengeful tiger blade technique, basics. 200 rage points were instantly consumed, and he was left with 5. Instantly, Lin Fan's body shook like a mysterious power surged into his body. A memory that he didn't have was imprinted in the depths of his brain. It was like the memory of several years of cultivating the vengeful tiger blade technique was imprinted on his body. He raised his hand. His fingers, wrist, and arm all felt familiar. Lin Fan jumped off the bed. He hollered, "Tiger tooth!" His hand chopped down with a really strong aura. A low thud spread out. Pong! The wooden table broke into pieces and scattered all over the ground. The green brick floor around the table cracked. Wah, so painful. Lin Fan covered his right hand. His face turned red and tears nearly flowed out. It's swollen, it's swollen. If someone saw, maybe they would think, what kind of brain did he have to do such a thing? He didn't cultivate heart cultivation, no internal strength. His physique wasn't strong enough either. He dared to use a blade technique with his bare hands to hack the wooden table. Such boldness. Normal people wouldn't be able to do that. To hell with cultivation. You're just looking for trouble. I'd better add some points. P.S. New book uploaded. Please bookmark it and recommend it. This book has to be positive and can't be about fighting and killing. Chapter 6. The moon was bright and the stars were sparse. The entire city seemed to be covered in a pure white shirt. Everything was silent. Lin Manor back, mountain empty space. Ke, Zhao Guangyi, who was Gozi, held a wooden blade and cultivated according to the vengeful tiger blade technique. His legs left the ground as he slashed forwards with the wooden blade in his hand. Put on. He fell to the ground like a dog eating **T. Young master trusts me so much, so I can't disappoint you. If I can't do it once, then I will do it 100 times. If I can't do it 100 times, then I will do it 10,000 times. The Lin family servants wouldn't come into contact with martial arts. Only the guards could cultivate. Gozi had no strength and had never come into contact with martial arts. He didn't even know the exact situation and could only slowly cultivate according to the cultivation technique. Day and night flipped. The sky was bright. Within the room, Lin Fan opened his eyes. The sky is bright. A new day has begun. Lin Fan got up. Life was just so comfortable. Being a rich family young master was really annoying. The first thought he had when he woke up was to think about what he had to do to make himself happy. The movement in the room was heard by Gozi, who was waiting outside. He entered the room to serve. He changed his clothes and washed up. Everything was prepared. Gozi pack up and head out. Lin Fan couldn't stay in the Lin Manor. Only by heading out to find a goal could he bring some joy to his life. All right, bring enough money. The drunk fragrance pavilion matter was a little awkward, and it might happen again. Luckily, Liang Yongqi's brain wasn't good enough. If he had a bit of a brain, he might have been hit back. Yes, young master. Gozi replied. As for silver, he definitely wouldn't be able to get so much. Old master controlled young master's silver. And as for the drunk fragrance pavilion matter, it would be hard for it to happen again. Along the way, Lin Fan noticed a weird problem. Gozi, why don't we have maids? Lin Fan asked. As a rich family young master, he should at least have maids by his side. He didn't see any at all, and that was a little weird. In an environment where hormones were too strong, it was easy for one to have a weird sexual orientation. Young master, when you were young, there was a maid who offended you. Old master caught her and beat her to death. From then on, Lin Manor didn't have any more maids. Gozi said. This matter stirred up a storm, but was later suppressed by the old master. No one in the outside world knew about it. If anyone in the mansion dared to speak carelessly outside, the consequences would be unimaginable. Lin Fan shuddered. Was he being overpowered? It should be impossible. Cousin. Just then, Zhou Zhongmao saw Lin Fan from afar and called out. The burly Zhou Zhongmao had a smile on his face. Where are we going? He had heard about what had happened yesterday. His cousin was called over by his uncle for a lecture, and he was very worried, thinking that his cousin was going to suffer a calamity. Now that he saw his cousin was fine, the stone in his heart was lifted. Not going anywhere, just going out for a walk. Cousin, do you have anything for me? Lin Fan asked. Zhou Zhongmao looked surprised. In the past, his cousin wasn't even willing to talk to him. Talk to him now. His heart was beating excitedly. I'm fine too. I just trained those kids yesterday, Zhou Zhongmao said. Lin Fan patted his shoulder. Let's go out for a walk with cousin today. He finally saw through it. This cousin was definitely a fierce person. Look at his physique. Furthermore, his hands were covered in calluses. It was clear that he had gone through countless hardships. He met people who wanted to beat him up outside. He had to see whether or not he had the ability. Suddenly, he noticed that his cousin's expression was a little off. Cousin, Zhou Zhongmao's eyes turned red, and he was even choking up. Lin Fan took a step back. What was going on? Just at that moment, Zhou Zhongmao grabbed Lin Fan's hand. He grabbed it tightly and wasn't willing to let go. Cousin, I have been waiting for you to say that for a long time. When we were young, you treated me so well, and I love to play with you. but then you stopped caring about me. What I wanted to hear the most was cousin's voice. Lin Fan didn't know what to do from his cousin's passionate confession. Who would remember what happened when they were young? But Zhou Zhongmao remembered. His parents died. Cousin invited him to the Lin family and treated him really well. If cousin didn't bring him back, he wouldn't have had his current achievements. If the person who bullied cousin was an uncle, he would have taken a knife and chopped that person to death. Lin Fan wanted to retract his hand, but cousin grabbed it tightly. He could only calm him down. Cousin, I have already felt your passion and your heart. Let go first. I will bring you out for a walk. Zhou Zhongmao smiled brightly. Okay, cousin, let's go. Lin Manor Gate. Young master. Teacher Zhou, a middle-aged male, held an account book and wanted to head out. He bumped into Lin Fan and greeted him respectfully. Even if young master didn't like to cultivate, he wasn't someone that they could bully, unless he didn't want to live. Manager Chun, where are you going? Zhou Zhongmao asked. His tone was filled with a fierce intent. He didn't do it on purpose, but maybe that was the case. It gave one a cold feeling. Teacher Zhou, I'm going to collect farm taxes. Manager Chen said. Go. Zhou Zhongmao waved his hands. This matter didn't concern him, and he was just asking. Wait. Lin Fan stopped him. To collect farm taxes? Although this matter was normal. But if he handled it well, he might be able to earn a lot of rage points. Moreover, he was a rich family young master now, but he also needed to know about the situation in this world. He only knew about the Lin family situation, and he only knew a little. As for the other situation in Yu City, he basically didn't know anything. Young master, do you have any instructions? Manager Chen asked curiously. Lin Fan said, I have nothing to do, so I will go take a look. Manager Chun was shocked. In the past, young master had no interest in the family business at all. The bunch of them walked into the distance. Out of the city, the farms were all outside. The Lin family had many farms, and they were all rented to commoners outside the city. It was the same for the other two families in Yu City. Very quickly, when they exited the city, the surrounding environment started to turn bad. There were many refugees on both sides of the road outside the city. Their mental states weren't good. They were as thin as firewood. Some were lying on the ground, and no one knew if they were dead or alive. Go Z. No one cares about them? Lin Fan asked. Young master, no one cares about them. Who knows where they came from? Some of them might even be carrying heavy crimes. Go Z said. Lin Fan shook his head. Tragic. How tragic. The young man who grew up under the red flag couldn't bear with such things. Manager Chun, if I took in all these refugees and gave them a safe home, would old master be furious? Lin Fan asked. Manager Chun was used to the situation here, and he didn't even care about these people. When he heard young master's words, he was stunned. He looked at young master in confusion and didn't understand what was going on. Young master, you can't do that, otherwise old master will be furious. Manager Chin had a feeling that young master loved to go against old master. Young master had to do things that old master didn't allow. Lin Fan smiled. The smile on his face was like a bright flower. He had to think about this matter. It was doable. Suddenly, a voice spread out from ahead. Scum, a bunch of scum. A well-dressed girl with a cold face walked over. Her face was really beautiful, but her furious expression terrified one and affected her overall beauty. She kicked the back of the refugee. The refugee didn't dare to move. He protected a kid who was only 3 to 4 years old and begged for mercy. The girl was furious. When she came to Yu City and walked on the streets, there were actually scum playing around and throwing mud at her. She really couldn't take it. Too much, too much. In broad daylight, such a thing actually happened. Cousin, beat her up. Lin Fan waved his hands and told his cousin to charge up. Zhou Mao was confused. Cousin, beat who? Of course, beat that old woman. Lin Fan said. Manager Chen frowned and wanted to say something, but Zhou Mao was just too quick. He instantly turned into an afterimage. He jumped up. Rock spread its wings. He clenched his fingers and wanted to use the demon's sweeping fist to sweep her. Kick her face. Lin Fan shouted. Okay, cousin. Zhou Mao's hands hung down, and the strength was transferred from his fists. He hollered and kicked out. The angle was really tricky and precise. Cousin told him to kick where. Then he would kick where. There was no room for discussion. P.S. Give me some recommendation votes and bookmark it. Don't raise it. Chapter 7. Zhou Zhongmao's speed was extremely fast. Cousin said he was going to kick the face, so he definitely wouldn't deviate from the angle. Su Gang was furious. He just wanted to kick this lowly commoner to death. With her status and identity, even if she killed all the lowly commoners here, nothing would happen to her. Suddenly, Su Gang, who had some cultivation, felt that something was wrong. There was a strong force coming from the side. When he turned his head, his pupils contracted, and the foot that was branded in his eyes gradually enlarged. Bang! Su Gang's beautiful face was squeezed, her facial features distorted, and a fiery pain engulfed her entire body. Tears and snot flowed out uncontrollably. Zhou Zhongmao's kick contained a lot of power. If he were to be kicked in the face, his face would probably suffer severe injuries. Don't stop. Kick a few more times. Lin Fan said. Zhou Zhongmao, who wanted to end the fight with a single kick, heard his cousin's words. His body stopped in the air, and using his face as a medium, he turned his body and kicked out with both legs, aiming for his opponent's face. Amazing! This move is a bit like the Foshan Shadowless kick, or the chain kick. Lin Fan exclaimed. Cousin's actions could not be done without 10 years of hard work. Bang! Bang! After a few kicks, Zhou Zhongmao somersaulted in the air and landed steadily on the ground. Right then, all the power seemed to explode. Su Gang flew backwards, drawing an arc-shaped blood bridge in the air before heavily smashing into the ground, causing a cloud of dust to rise. He lay there motionlessly. His life and death were unknown. Cousin, is it okay? Zhou Zhongmao asked. To him, this was a very simple operation. But he was not stupid. Looking at the clothes and temperament of this woman, she was obviously not an ordinary person. If he directly kicked her to death, it would bring trouble to his cousin. That was why he held back from the start. If he really wanted to kill her, even 100 of her wouldn't be a match for him. Cousin, I really didn't expect you to be so skilled. Lin Fan realized that it felt good to have a cousin. No way. Zhou Zhongmao scratched the back of his neck in embarrassment. He was actually a little shy. It was a far cry from the ferocious look he had when he attacked just now. And, at this moment, Su Gang, who was lying on the ground, groaned and stood up shakily. His head was very muddled. It was as if a bird was flying around his head. Drip! Blood trickled from his nostrils. Those who bully others will always be bullied by others. This is the will of the heavens. Fate cannot be avoided. Lin Fan did not feel the slightest bit of pity. Who is it? Su Gang was in a daze and couldn't speak clearly. Who is so daring? I've never met such a person. Lin Fan frowned. I can't just sit back and watch. Just as he had this thought, he took a step forward. A QWER combo started. He raised his hand and slapped his own face. He clenched his fingers into a fist and punched his face. He bent his arm and elbowed his abdomen. Activating his ultimate move, he lifted his leg and kicked at his crotch. Then, he jumped back, gave up flash, and left the battlefield. This set of movements was completed in a single breath, as smooth as flowing water, without the slightest excess movement. Bang! The moment Su Gang fainted, she glanced at the person in front of her. She tried her best to open her eyes, wanting to know who it was. But, with a rumbling sound, he faced the ground and laid there motionless. Very comfortable. Lin Fan chuckled. As a man, he would never hit a woman. A real man wouldn't stoop to the same level as a woman. However, when he really did, it didn't matter if it was a man or a woman. Manager Chen's mouth was agape. What happened? What were young master and teacher Zhou doing? Cousin, you are so amazing. Zhou Zhongmao exclaimed. Although Cousin's series of movements were ordinary, he used a lot of strength. He had the strength of a grade 1 martial path expert. Lin Fan was really calm. It isn't worth mentioning. Just now, he actually had a feeling that having strength actually made him feel so good. No, he couldn't have such a feeling. He was a rich family young master and had to enjoy life. He couldn't be bewitched by strength. Why are you all still crowding around? Quickly disperse. If this woman wakes up, none of you will be able to escape. Lin Fan said. The refugees who were kicked by Su Gang were filled with gratitude, kowtowing on the ground. Young master, let's go. Manager Chen said. He felt that if they continued to stay, things would be bad. Very quickly, Lin Fan and the others didn't bother about the girl lying on the ground and walked forwards. After walking for a while, there were people and horses galloping over. The people at the front wore black armor, and there was a picture on the chest area of the armor. A picture formed by 3 leaves. It was shaped like a clover, but also like a windmill. They were majestic and quickly passed by Lin Fan and the others like they were in a hurry. This looks like the Su family emblem. Manager Chen muttered. He had seen it before, but he wasn't too sure. Suddenly, he thought about something. That girl, be it looks, clothing, or aura, she wasn't someone that a normal family could nurture. In U City, there wasn't such a girl. If he made a bold guess, maybe that girl was from the Su family. Thinking about that, he hurried to Lin Fan's side. Young master, we might have caused trouble. What trouble? Lin Fan asked. As a rich family young master, he actually said it was trouble. That was something that didn't exist. That woman might very well be from the Su family, said Manager Chen. Su family. Lin Fan was confused. What was he talking about? He didn't even understand U City, and now a Su family appeared. Why didn't they want to die? Don't worry. Who cares whether or not she is? I've already beaten her up, so I can still turn back time and start over. Lin Fan didn't care. Who cared who she was? He couldn't be afraid. A true rich family young master wouldn't be afraid no matter who he offended. In the distance, Su Gang was still lying there. The surrounding refugees had all scattered, and there wasn't even a single person around. A large group of people arrived. When they saw the person lying on the ground, everyone was astonished. Little Mississippi, an old man who looked like a butler, was shocked and hurried forwards. When he noticed that little Miss's expression was really tragic, the old man panicked. Who? Who is it? Who dares to be so vicious to Su family, little Miss? A vicious expression appeared in the old man's eyes. He looked around and didn't notice any movement. However, he definitely couldn't let this matter end just like that. He had to give little Miss an explanation. She took out a jade bottle from her bosom and carefully poured out a pill from it, giving it to the young Miss. He then patted her back to help her digest the pill, allowing the medicinal effects to spread out. Not long later, the wounds on Su Gang's face started to heal at a visible rate. However, the swelling couldn't be removed. Slowly, Su Gang opened her eyes and then screamed. Little Miss, it is me. What happened? The old man asked. I was hit by someone. Su Gang's emotions fluctuated. It is him. I remember who it is. It is him. Su Gang touched her face. The moment her fingers touched it, an unbearable pain struck her. Rage plus 50. Rage plus 100. Rage plus 200. Rage plus 300. Lin Fan was a little shocked. She woke up so quickly. Moreover, the rage points were actually increasing by the minute. Not bad. P.S. I'm looking for recommendation votes. Everyone, please pour your strength into me. Chapter 8. Cousin, is there something on your mind? Zhou Mao asked. Lin Fan smiled. I'm fine. I'm fine. Constitution. 18 internal strength. 0 mental cultivation. None cultivation technique. Vengeful tiger blade technique. Basics. Rage points. 655. This was his current situation. His physique rose to 18. Since he did not have any internal energy, he probably did not cultivate any mental cultivation method. To put it bluntly, he was now a brute with brute force. Currently, if there was something on his mind, it would be Manager Chun. He was panicking. His mind was still thinking about that woman from before. If it was really the Su family, then it was really big trouble. At this moment, they were already on a small path in the farmland. The heat scorched the earth. Cracks appeared on the ground. In the distance, many commoners saw Administrator Chun, but they didn't come over. Instead, they ran into the distance. Why do I feel that we're like a plague? Everyone else is afraid when they see us. What's going on? Lin Fan asked. His rage points were accumulating, and he would slowly add them when he returned. Manager Chun had a ferocious look on his face. He felt that these commoners had caused him to lose face in front of the young master, so he had to teach them a lesson. Don't worry, young master. I will immediately let these scums line the streets to welcome you, said Manager Chun. Lin Fan waved his hand and said unhappily, What lowly commoner? Don't call me that. It's so vulgar. Manager Chun looked at young master with a weird expression. She felt that young master's words were a little weird. Yes, young master is right. I will change, Manager Chun said. But in his heart, he still felt that these people were scum. If it wasn't for the Lin family giving them food, these people would be like the refugees outside of the city. Gozi's good impression of young master broke through the limit. The young master was indeed the young master. He was different from those flirtatious young masters. As a servant of the Lin family, to put it bluntly, he was half a peasant, on a small path through the farmland. In front of him was a village. There were many houses, but they were too old. There were straw huts and mud houses. The outer walls of the mud huts had many cracks. He even suspected that if there was a heavy rain, it was very likely that these houses would collapse. In the village, the civilians all stood there waiting. Some of them lowered their heads in silence, while others were filled with despair. What should I do? What should I do? I can't hand it over. Manager Chun is here. If we don't hand it over, we will definitely be scolded and beaten. When Lin Fan walked into the village, all the sounds disappeared. The entire village was extremely quiet. Even those naughty children hid in the corner of the wall in fear. Manager Chun coughed lightly. Then he took out a soft whip from his waist and slammed it on the ground, leaving a deep mark. Is everyone here? This is the young master of the Lin Mansion. Hurry up and greet him. Manager Chun said sternly. To deal with these lowly commoners, one had to make them afraid. Only when they knew fear would they work hard. Sir Lin. Their voices were intermittent and uneven, and they were generally very soft. Patter. Manager Chun lashed out with his whip and landed on the ground again. His expression was extremely ugly as he said sternly, Did you not eat? Speak louder. What are you doing? What do you want to do? Keep your whip. If you have something to say, then say it nicely. Who are you trying to scare? Lin Fan frowned. An evil landlord. This little steward had performed incisively and vividly. Manager Chun, who had a fierce expression towards the commoners, was much more docile in front of Lin Fan. He kept his whip. Young master is right. The villagers in the village all looked at Lin Fan. This was the Lin family young master. They had never seen him before. They didn't understand why such a person would come to such a place. Zhou Zhongmao wasn't interested in what was happening here. He was just accompanying his cousin. Other things didn't have much to do with him. Gozi was a little helpless. This time he came to collect taxes. However, with the weather this year, the harvest would be really small. They probably wouldn't even be able to pay the taxes, much less fill their stomachs. However, he was just a servant. His words didn't carry much weight, or one could say that he was useless. Manager Chun felt that young master didn't like how evil he was, so he restrained himself and said, Have you prepared this year's taxes? No one spoke. The villagers exchanged glances with one another and felt really bitter. Farm taxes? How would they have extra? However, if they didn't pay, the consequences weren't something they could bear. Manager Chun frowned. What was going on? These people didn't want to pay taxes? Young master followed him over, and if he didn't do this well, how would young master look at him? Manager Chun. At that moment, an old man walked out from the crowd. He was really old, and the wrinkles on his face were not much different from tree bark. We will definitely pay taxes, but this year's harvest isn't good. So, can we pay less? Or we can owe it? The old man said. He was the village chief of this place. He really had no choice with the situation this year. However, he knew that the reason wasn't important to the Lin family. As long as they could pay the taxes, everything was fine. However, if they couldn't, the consequences would be catastrophic. Manager Chin's expression slowly changed. The way he looked at these people changed. Village chief, my young master came today, and you told me this? Manager Chen said solemnly, and then looked towards Lin Fan. Young master, I will solve this matter and won't let the Lin family suffer any losses. Lin Fan raised his head and looked at the sky, fanning himself. The weather's really hot. There are signs of drought. Till now, he didn't know how his family collected taxes. Also, this small support system was really humane. It didn't bully normal people. The farmers present were definitely furious, but they didn't get any rage points. Go Z, how do you collect the taxes? Lin Fan asked. Go Z replied. Young master, based on mu, 150 kilograms per mu. What? When Lin Fan heard that, he was stunned like he didn't understand. He asked, how do you collect it? Young master, based on mu. Go Z said. Lin Fan was stunned. This was even higher than the Qin dynasty taxes. This was obviously not giving people a chance to live. How much is 1 mu of land now? Lin Fan asked. Young master, 1 mu of land yields around 200 kilograms. Go Z said. This was Yu City's tax, leaving a little for the farmers and the rest as taxes. Scary. Which B asterisk star came up with this tax? He's just not giving anyone a chance to live. Lin Fan cursed out. However, when he said those words, not only was Manager Chen shocked, even the farmers were dumbfounded. Go Z hurriedly whispered into Lin Fan's ear, Young master, this is the tax that old master set. Okay, no matter who said it, this farm tax is just insane. We have to change it. As the Lin family young master, I will set the new farm tax. From today onwards, there will be no harvest per mu. Only 10% of the annual harvest will be collected. Lin Fan said, this kind of deranged behavior must be stopped. As the rich son of a landlord, he had to do something. Young master, you can't. Manager Chen reacted and stopped him. This was a life-threatening matter. If the old master were to find out about this, the entire sky would collapse. The villagers stood there in a daze. They opened their eyes and looked at Lin Fan. What did young Master Lin say? Lin Fan didn't bother about Manager Chen. He looked at the sky and the ground before opening his mouth. This damn weather is terrifyingly hot. It is considered a drought, so this year's farm tax will be exempted. Young master. Manager Chen wanted to spit out blood. Are you the young master, or am I the young master? Are my words useless? I will take responsibility for this. If my father doesn't agree, then tell him to find me. Lin Fan said. Riches were found in danger. When it was time to gain rage points, he couldn't show mercy. He had to fight head-on. Do you really think you can hack my only son to death? Put on. Just at that moment, the villagers all knelt down. The village chief knelt in front of Lin Fan. Tears flowed down his face. Thank you, young master. Thank you, young master. He hadn't studied before. He wouldn't say too many words of gratitude. But his true feelings were revealed. There was no falsehood at all. Lin Fan walked forwards and helped the village chief up. He persuaded, Village chief, in the future all of you have to farm well. Whether or not I can enjoy life depends on all of you. Those words sounded a little weird, but to the villagers, that wasn't the main point. Don't worry, young master. We will farm well and pay the taxes next year. Lin Fan nodded his head in satisfaction. Let's go, let's head back. Manager Chen looked towards his young master in despair. Something huge was about to happen. Chapter 9. On the way back, Manager Chen was really worried. Sometimes he sighed, and sometimes he shook his head helplessly. Manager Chen, I will take responsibility for this matter and won't drag you into it. Don't be afraid. Look at you now, you're so afraid. Lin Fan calmed down Manager Chen's anxious heart and told him not to panic. Didn't he, the young master, take responsibility for everything? Manager Chen was a bad person, but he was loyal to the Lin Manor. Although he was a little impulsive towards outsiders, it was understandable. Young master, I'm not afraid of old master blaming me. I will support whatever young master does. I'm just thinking about the girl that young master taught a lesson. If my guesses are correct, she is definitely from the Su family. Manager Chen set out what he was worried about. Su family? How strong are they? Lin Fan didn't believe that Manager Chen would worry for so long. Tell me, what is the background of the Su family? Young master, the Su family is an aristocratic family in Zhou City, the one closest to the center of power. If that girl is really an important person, it would be a huge problem for old master and young master. Manager Chen said. He wasn't joking. Of course, with old master's special position in Yu City and his strength, even the Su family couldn't do anything. However, if they used underhanded methods, it would be hard to defend against. Lin Fan thought about it and waved his hands. Forget it, don't think about it. Since it is a problem, then what is there to think about? The weather is too hot. Let's go back. Yes, young master. Manager Chen replied. However, he really respected young master's attitude. Was he really not worried at all? Yu City Gate. The armored men and horses that he had seen before were standing there. They gave off a fierce aura, causing the people around to avoid them. Even the people who entered the city were careful, afraid that they would get into trouble. Young master, my guesses are correct. That girl is definitely an important person from the Su family. Manager Chun was worried. Lin Fan was distracted. What is there to be afraid of? If she is an important person, then she is. What would she do to me? Don't worry, let's enter the city. Cousin, don't worry, I will protect you. Zhou Mao said. Go Zi took in a deep breath. Naturally, he was afraid, but for young master, he had to be fearless. The few of them swaggered forward. At the city gate, Su Gang's face was swollen, her gaze dark as she stared at everyone entering the city. The old man beside him was also furious. If he found the person who hurt Miss Seven, he would definitely take his life. The difference between rich kids and commoners was very obvious. This was especially so for someone like Lin Fan, who was more particular about his clothes. Naturally, his clothes had to be handsome. Su Gang's gaze locked onto the people passing by. When Lin Fan's group appeared, she stared at Lin Fan. Stop right there. Suddenly, Su Gang opened her mouth, and the surrounding guards blocked his path. Lin Fan was as calm as water, and when he saw Su Gang, he was even more shocked. He sucked in a breath of cold air. Ayaya, this beautiful lady, who is it that dared to be so vicious and beat you up like this? Rage plus 20. True enough. When he said those words, it affected Su Gang a little. Everyone loves beauty. Women are the most obsessed. Although the injury had healed, the swelling was still difficult to remove. Su Gang stared at Lin Fan. She felt that he looked familiar, but she wasn't sure. Little Miss, is it him? The old man's gaze became sharp like as long as Little Miss nodded. He would take him down right away. Manager Chen noticed the killing intent from the old man. He was shocked and said fiercely, What do you want to do? This is the Lin family young master. He wasn't the old man's match. This was why he revealed young master's identity. This was Yu City. Even if he was from the Su family, he didn't dare to do anything to the Lin family young master. If not, he could forget about leaving this place. What do you mean by that? Why did I tell him who I am? Am I someone who uses my identity to suppress people? Lin Fan said. He was a little unhappy, although he was a rich family young master. But he wasn't someone who used his identity to suppress people. We walked the path of being low profile and having meaning. Do you understand meaning? Forget it. He wouldn't understand even if he said it, so it was best if he didn't say it. Yes, young master is right. I made a decision on my own. Manager Chen said. Don't do it next time. Young master isn't that kind of person. Look at this girl. She is so young and looks really elegant. Now that such a thing happened in Yu City, I can't accept it. This old man is definitely an elder, so it is normal for him to be angry. What Lin Fan said was very reasonable. Manager Chen blinked and was a little stunned. When did young master know how to lie? This girl was beaten up by young master and teacher Zhou, but now he acted like nothing had happened. However, he felt fortunate. At that time, there were only refugees. If they wanted to find the truth from the refugees, it would probably take some time. Lin Wani's son. The old man looked at Lin Fan and muttered. He then cupped his fists. So, it is young master Lin. Please forgive me. This is the 7th little miss of the Su family. She was injured by an evil person and is currently searching for him. The old man had heard of this Lin family young master, a generation killer Lin Wani, having a son at 40. He thought that the Lin family would have another dragon. However, there were rumors. The Lin family young master didn't like to cultivate and did nothing all day, enjoying life. Now that he looked at it, he didn't look like a cultivator. The rumors were true. Don't worry, seventh little miss. You actually faced such a thing when you came to U City. You can't be forgiven. Leave this to me. I will definitely find the culprit. Lin Fan said. Then, he couldn't bear to. He pointed at Su Gang's face. Take a look, a girl from a big family, a beauty that can topple a country, swollen to such a state. In the future, if there is a scar, wouldn't it ruin a perfect piece of art? Lin Fan sighed. Regret, heartache, the emotions he revealed didn't seem like he was joking. Manager Chun wanted to smash his head against the city walls. Young master, just say a few words less. The more he said, the faster he would be exposed. This matter couldn't be hidden. As long as he investigated, it wouldn't be difficult. When that happened, that would be awkward. Rage plus 50. Rage plus 80. It started to jump once more. It seemed like he had touched his sore spot. Su Gang was probably worried about such a situation. Gozi stood at the side and kept silent. Young master was really amazing. His mentality was just too good. Zhou Mao felt like cousin was saying so much, but it was pointless. He even felt that this girl was a little dumb. She had been beaten up, so she didn't know who did it? That gaze was just too hard to use. Su Gang was furious and agreed with Lin Fan's words. She was a beauty that could topple a country, and many nobles had trampled over the Su family's door. How would anyone be willing to do that to her? Lin Fan looked closely at Su Gang, shaking his head and commenting, Look, this injury is really tricky, and it will affect the face greatly. This is especially the case for those 5-hand seals. They've destroyed a perfect object. Rage plus 100. Rage plus 120. More rage points came. Lin Fan raised his hand and opened his fingers, matching the handprints on Su Gang's face. He couldn't help but mock himself. Interesting, it actually matched. What a joke. Who doesn't know that I never hit girls? To be able to match my fingers, that is an insult to me. The old man beside Su Gang frowned. He felt that young Master Lin was trying to say something, and he was in deep thought. Manager Chun, it is late. Let's head back. Lin Fan felt that if he continued to stay, there was a high chance that he would be noticed. It was best if he returned. Seventh little miss, old mister, if you have any problems, you can come to the Lin family to find me. If I can help, then I will. If not, then we can discuss. The old man cupped his fists. Thank you, young Master Lin, for your good intentions. Su Gang covered her face. She bowed slightly as a form of greeting. Very quickly, Lin Fan brought his men and left. The old man's face turned cold. Little miss, this Lin family kid doesn't have good intentions, and his words were like a joke. I don't care about all that. I just want to find the person who dared to hit me and rip him into pieces. Su Gang said coldly. As for him, I feel that he is different from others. Chapter 10. What he had done in the morning gave Lin Fan a sense of accomplishment. The common people were devastated by heavy taxes. As the young master of the Lin family, his status was very high. With just one sentence, tax reduction, tax exemption, and it was over. Young master, I have a feeling that the old man from the Su clan seems to know something. Manager Chen whispered at the side. As for the seventh young lady, he felt that she might be a little blind. He was beaten right in front of his face. He actually didn't see clearly who the attacker was. Lin Fan didn't take it to heart. So what if they know? It's fine. We'll talk about it when we find them. He was now a rich young master, lawless and unbridled. He just beat up a foreigner. What's the big deal? Just now, he even showed some concern for the other party, and the other party seemed to enjoy it very much. Manager Chen really didn't know what to say to his young master. Cousin, I treat you well, right? I brought you out for a stroll, and you can fight right away. How does that feel? Lin Fan hugged Zhou Mao's shoulder and asked. Zhou Mao trembled slightly. His cousin was actually hugging his shoulder. This was something that hadn't happened in a long time. He enjoyed the current atmosphere very much. Cousin, it feels so good. To be able to come out with cousin has really broadened my horizons. Who cares about the Sioux family? If they dare to find trouble with cousin, I will be the first to object. Zhou Mao said. Lin Fan smiled and patted his shoulder. It is good that you feel comfortable. We will have more chances in the future. Moreover, this is Yu City, our territory. Why will we be afraid of outsiders? If they are unhappy, then we would just fight them. Zhou Mao nodded. Whatever cousin said would be the truth. He obeyed unconditionally. Why did he practice martial arts from a young age? In order to protect her cousin, no one could bully her cousin. At the entrance of the Lin mansion, Manager Chun, there's no way we can hide this. Go and tell my father the truth. Tell him that I'm being stubborn. If he wants to beat me up, come at me. Lin Fan said. Young master. Sai, I understand. Manager Chun wanted to say something, but in the end, he could only agree. His status was low. If he took on this responsibility, he would not be able to walk out of the Lin mansion. Even if he wasn't beaten to death by Old Master, he would be bettered for 10 days to half a month. Lin Fan never did things that went against his heart. Although his goal was anger, some things were indeed a little too much. He couldn't bear to watch any longer. He would look down on himself if the Lin family relied on harsh agricultural taxes to support them. He didn't even feel anything when he squandered his money. Cousin, why don't you let me do it? Even if uncle is angry, he won't beat me to death. Zhou Mao wanted to take responsibility for this matter. Cousin made uncle very disappointed and angry. After accumulating for a long time, it was hard to say if he wouldn't explode all at once. If something were to happen and he failed, it would be disastrous. What do you mean by that? I'll take responsibility for what I've done. Do you think your cousin is the kind of person who fears? That's enough. Go do what you need to do. I'll return to the courtyard first. Lin Fan waved his hand and left with Go Zi. These rage points were a little too much. If he had nothing to do, he had to think about it. I have to work harder. Zhou Mao still wanted to say something, but Lin Fan had already left, not giving him the chance to. Manager Chun, I'll go with you. Remember, if uncle is very angry, you must say something nice to me, understand? Otherwise, cousin will lose a layer of skin. I know, replied Manager Chun. His words carried little weight. What use could he have? If he really wanted to speak, he would have to depend on you. Young master, why don't you go to old master and admit your mistakes? This matter is a little serious, and if old master finds out, he will definitely be furious. Go Zi was worried. In the past, young master didn't like to cultivate, and that made old master angry. But at least he didn't do anything disobedient. But now, he suddenly lowered taxes and even exempted them from this year's agriculture tax. If Old Master found out, he would definitely be furious. At this moment, Lin Fan didn't panic, but he panicked a little deep down when they said that. That made sense. Although he was his son, it wouldn't be too much to teach him a lesson. Go Zi, go find a blade for me. Lin Fan thought about it for a moment and told Go Zi to get a blade. Go Zi was shocked and said anxiously, Young master, don't be rash. What are you rash for? Go get it, don't ask so much. Lin Fan rushed. Did he think he was going to fight old master to the death with a blade? What a joke. Although he couldn't understand how strong his father was. To be able to establish the Lin family alone, how could he be a simple person? He came to the courtyard. He laid on the chair. Even if the sky collapsed, he had to stabilize it. He looked at the small support system. Lin Fan physique. 18 internal strength, 0 heart cultivation, cultivation technique, vengeful tiger blade technique, basics, rage points. 10-25-inch physique is 18 now, and the blade technique is at basics. I have to perform well later. He was thinking about how he should add points. There was no need to talk about cultivation or not. If he didn't perform well, he would definitely be beaten up. However, he didn't rush. He wanted to see how his rage points would increase. Not long later. Rage plus 150. Rage plus 200. Not good. He was finished. His starting rage was 150, which was enough to show that his father was furious. Lin Manor Hall. Lin Wani stood there expressionlessly. Old master, that was what happened. Manager Chun said the agriculture tax matter in fear. He lowered his head and didn't dare to look at old master. Without even thinking, he knew that old master would be furious. The hall was really silent, temporarily silent. Zhou Zhongmao and Manager Chun were confused. Why wasn't old master saying anything? Unfilial kid. Instantly, when they heard old master grit his teeth and say those two words, they knew that old master was really furious. Manager Chun raised his head and noticed that old master's face was green. His eyes gave off a glow like he was about to kill someone. Put on. Old master, I didn't persuade you. Please calm down. Manager Chun knelt down, and beads of sweat fell from his forehead. Lin Manor. Only young master dared to ignore old master. The others were filled with fear. Uncle, cousin didn't do it on purpose. There was a drought this year, and cousin was soft-hearted, which was why he did that. Zhou Zhongmao hurriedly said. Lin Wani raged. He doesn't have the right to be a good person. The moment he said that, he walked in front of Manager Chun. Take out your whip. Manager Chun didn't dare to say much, and obediently took out the whip wrapped around his waist with both hands. Lin Wani took it, and without saying a word, he walked out. It was obvious that he was going to find that unfilial kid. Uncle, calm down. Zhou Zhongmao chased. His head was covered in sweat. Lin Wani was about to go mad from rage. He couldn't do anything and only spoiled things. How did he give birth to such an unfilial kid? Could he change the farm tax? Yuan family and Liang family didn't dare to casually change it. The unfilial kid was going to do bad things. Back courtyard. Young master. Old master is here. Go Zi panted as he ran over. He listened to young master and waited outside. The moment he saw old master, he would inform him. Lin Fan laid on the chair and hurriedly stuffed fruits into his mouth. He really came? He was thinking, was there a high chance that his father would come? If he didn't come, then he wouldn't be in a rush to add points. However, looking at the situation, he had to, otherwise it would be too late. He quickly added points. Physique rose from 18 to 20. He consumed 200 rage points. Shortly after, he added cultivation techniques. He had to stabilize himself. The person who came was really aggressive. If he couldn't be touched, then he had to let his father know that if he wanted to beat him up, he would fight back. Chapter 11. Gozi stood at the entrance of the courtyard. He was panicking. What was young master doing? Old master was about to arrive, so he quickly picked up his blade to train. If old master saw him, maybe he wouldn't be so angry. Vengeful tiger blade technique was at basics. At points, his rage points dropped from 1,175 to 875. Cultivation technique, vengeful tiger blade technique, advanced instantly. Lin Fan felt like a magical power was injected into his hands. His body was the same. Something that didn't exist suddenly merged into his body and turned into experience. His understanding of this saber technique had also improved tremendously. Remaining rage points, 875. Cultivation technique could still be improved. At points, cultivation technique, vengeful tiger blade technique, mastery through comprehension, rage points consumed, 400. He was left with 475. At this moment, he couldn't add points to the blade technique because he didn't have enough rage points. However, this cultivation technique proficiency level was a little interesting. Basics, advanced, mastery through comprehension. What else would there be after that? Would he be at the point of perfection, at the peak of perfection? Young master, old master is about to arrive. Gozi suppressed his voice. He didn't dare to speak loudly as he was afraid that old master would hear him. He didn't know what was going on with young master. Why was he still sitting there and not moving? Forget it. Let's go all out and directly add to physique. The remaining rage points were all spent on physique. After adding 2 points, it directly rose from 20 to 24. When his physique was increased to 24, he felt an obvious change in his body. It felt like it was burning. Each muscle felt like it was being roasted by a flame. A low sound rang out in his body. Other people work hard to cultivate, but I can add points to make my body stronger. Is this an internal change? Lin Fan thought about it. He was really not interested in cultivation. If others didn't force him, such a scene wouldn't have happened. Martial Path Grade 12? Which grade did his current situation belong to? Unfilial kids scram out. Just at that moment, a furious roar spread out. It was like thunder, deafening to the ears. The surrounding trees and flowers all trembled. I won't scram out, you come in. Lin Fan replied. Go Z stood there. His legs weren't stable, and he felt like he was about to faint. Young Master was going to defy the heavens. No one could stop him. Rage plus 80. Lin Wani, who hadn't even reached the back courtyard, heard this unfilial kid's voice. He was so angry that his brows furrowed, and the whip he was holding was cracking. Manager Chun fell to the ground. His face was filled with bitterness. Why did you have to do this, young master? Why did you anger old master like this? Admit your mistake. Wouldn't it be over if he let old master vent his anger? What else can master do to you? Unfilial son, what did you just say? Lin Wani walked into the courtyard, and the originally hot air suddenly turned ice cold. It was as if a cold wind had blown past, causing all the pores on his body to open. Lin Fan blinked. He had lost. In terms of power, he had already lost to this seemingly young father of his. Nothing much. Lin Fan's tone was a little weak. His rage points were basically all given to him by his father. He was really afraid that one night when he slept, his father would sneak into his room and kill him with a hatchet. Lin Wani looked at Lin Fan. His gaze gave one a huge sense of suppression. Who allowed you to make decisions on the farm tax matter? What ability do you have to pity others? If not for me, what do you have? You can't even compare to those refugees outside the city. Zhong Mao couldn't take it anymore and wanted to say a few words for his cousin. Uncle, cousin, he actually shut up. Lin Wani chided. Zhong Mao didn't dare to say anything else. He lowered his head and looked at his cousin in a pitiful manner. Although he was anxious, there was nothing he could do. Cousin, you can only rely on yourself now. Uncle was furious. His rage surged into the heavens. The rage in his heart was tough to extinguish. Lin Fan looked at his father and shook his head. He was a little disappointed and sighed. This sigh was filled with helplessness. Why are you shaking your head? Lin Wani asked. Even at such a time, this little brat was still shaking his head and sighing. Did he think that he did nothing wrong? Lin Fan said, Your words are too hurtful, too hurtful. It doesn't sound like something a father should say. Do you know how much of shadow your words will cast on a kid who looks forward to the world? We said those words. His expression was one of pain and hatred. Kiki. Lin Wani laughed. His smile was filled with despair and helplessness. This was his disappointment toward his own son. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Lin Wani moved his wrist. The whip in his hand smashed onto the ground. After so many years, I have never forced you to cultivate, but you have disappointed me. Today, no one can save you. This strike was really heavy. The green brick ground of the back courtyard cracked open. If it landed on his body, it would be considered a light injury. Lin Fan panicked. How vicious, but he said calmly, only people who aren't confident will use violence to make others yield. Father, I don't want you to be such a person. Rage plus 100. The moment he said that, rage points arrived. This was to express his rage towards Lin Fan's words. Manager Chun didn't dare to move. Young Master was testing Old Master's bottom line. Although he wouldn't die, his skin would split open and he wouldn't be able to run. Father's expression was really ugly, like he was about to swallow someone up. Lin Fan wasn't moved. He calmly tried to reason. I won't admit my mistake regarding the farm taxes. After all, I didn't do anything wrong. This tax is too much. It is forcing people to their deaths. Young Master, stop talking. Manager Chin wanted to head up and stuff Young Master's mouth. He was going to totally infuriate Old Master. Rage plus 200. Forcing you to your death. Very good, you unfilial son. Now that your wings have hardened, you even dare to speak to me like this. You better remember this. You are able to live your current life because of me. If you have the ability, then leave the Lin family and rely on your own strength to carve your own path. Lin Wani hollered in rage. That expression of exasperation and disappointment was all there. Yuan family, Liang family descendants, which one of them wasn't stronger than his son? How was it that they could develop such a descendant, while his was the same? Young master quickly apologized to old master. Stop being angry. Manager Chen hurriedly said. He was really afraid that young master would be angry and leave the Lin family. How would it be safe outside? Lin Fan said, I won't leave. I am a rich family young master, so why should I leave? I am just eating and waiting to die, doing nothing. Even if you beat me to death, I won't leave. Put on. Manager Chun sat paralyzed on the ground. He thought that young master had gone mad. If not, how could he say such words? Not to mention Manager Chun. Even Go Zi and cousin were stunned. They looked at Lin Fan in shock. It was like they had seen a ghost. Lin Wani said those vicious words to see what this unfilial kid would do. Who knew that the unfilial kid would actually say such words? Eating and waiting to die, doing nothing, not leaving even if you beat him to death. Pung. It was like a volcano had erupted within Lin Wani's body. Rage plus 666. And Lin Fan was shocked. 666 rage points increased right away. That was just too much. He raised his head. He noticed that his father's gaze and expression were a little off. He suddenly felt a little weak. He was so frustrated that he was about to explode, like he was holding Frostmourne and passing it to his father. He then stretched out his neck for him to chop. P.S. Thank you, the 100th Alliance leader, 2 of Papa's Alliance leaders. I placed down the raincoat in my hands and wore it. I walked in front of the computer and tried my best to update. P.S. Thank you, Chan Hushiani's 10,000 Chidian coins. Chapter 12. Unfilial Kid. I will beat you to death. Lin Wani was furious and instantly attacked. The whip slashed over like a dragon, causing the air to ring. If that whip landed, he would at least be bettered in for half a month. Cousin, Zhou Mao was shocked and rushed over without a care for his own safety. But the whip seemed to have eyes of its own, and the air vibrated. Before he could even touch the whip, his whole body was shaken and sent flying. Wait, Lin Fan was shocked. This wasn't normal. He should at least say a few more words to give him some time to react, to let him show off. But now, with such a move, with the current situation, would he be able to block it? I will scram. Lin Fan dodged and rolled to the side. He quickly got up and muttered, It is the father's fault if the son doesn't teach the son. Father, I have to let you know your mistakes. He reached out and hollered, Blade, come. The blade that was placed at the side naturally wouldn't fly over by itself. It ran over and picked it up. Shwa shwa. It was a little strong. It looked like it. The moment he picked up the blade, Lin Fan felt a sense of joy spread from his body. The blade in his hand was just like his right hand. It was so familiar and made him feel good. His left hand could be broken, but his right hand couldn't be lost. Only by truly experiencing it could one understand that feeling. Father, know your mistakes. Look at the blade. Lin Fan used all his strength and hollered. He jumped into the air, and the blade in his hand was like a tiger. It was really strong and unstoppable. Lin Wani, who was in a fit of rage, saw this scene and his eyes narrowed in anger. It was like he had seen an unbelievable scene. The whip strike just now seemed to be full of strength, but it was actually filled with gentleness. Even if one were to be struck, one would only feel pain on the surface. There would be no internal injuries. How could Lin Wani bear to be so vicious? He just wanted to scare this unfilial kid. But now, he suddenly realized that things were different from what he had expected. Lin Wani's disappointed heart actually became excited. Although his face was still cold, his hands didn't stop. The snake came out of its hole. The tip of the whip bounced up from the ground and flew towards Lin Fan. When he faced such a situation, naturally, Lin Fan panicked. He was not used to fighting. However, the saber in his hand was as nimble as his arm, and he had an instinctive reaction. He raised his saber to meet the whip, not using the back of his saber to block, but instead slashed out horizontally, and the blade of the saber hit the head of the whip squarely. There was a clap. The whip bounced back. As for Lin Fan, He didn't move at all. Instead, he had the momentum of slashing down. Am I that strong? After a short moment of panic, Lin Fan was overjoyed. How could he think so much? He raised his blade and attacked his father. Lin Wani stood on the spot, his eyes shining. Initiated, you've reached the next level. Master it. In his eyes, this unfilial kid's vengeful tiger blade technique was different. It had actually reached the mastery realm. Every move was natural and had very few flaws. Even if there was a flaw, it could be changed at the last moment. Lin Wani did not say anything, nor did he reveal a look of joy. Instead, he suppressed his martial arts cultivation and tried his best to control his power. Looking at the situation, it's still a little hard to hold. Let's add a point first. Right now, Lin Fan was really comfortable with it. To think that playing with a knife would be so interesting as well. Vengeful Tiger Blade Technique. Reached mastery. 500 rage points consumed. There were still 621 left. He could still add points. I can do it. Continue. Vengeful Tiger Blade Technique. Reached the peak. 600 rage points consumed. He was left with 21. Instantly, Lin Fan felt that the blade in his hand had changed. That familiar feeling was totally different from before. One could even say that it was so familiar that when he closed his eyes and heard the sound, he would know what blade technique it was. Lin Wani's wrist moved. The whip rose up and struck towards Lin Fan's lower body. The biggest weakness of the Vengeful Tiger Blade technique was that it was unable to protect its lower body. He wanted to see how much this unfilial kid had cultivated the blade technique too. However, to him, it was just that. Mastery was already enough to shock him. Lin Fan wanted to continue to slash the whip, but who knew that it would actually bend and wrap towards his legs. However, he didn't panic. The blade in his hand changed. The tip was like a tiger's claw, accurately pinning the whip to the ground. He held the blade and walked forwards. The whip split from head to toe and was sliced into two by the blade. Lin Wani opened his eyes wide. He was even more shocked than before. Reached the peak. His cultivation had reached a really high realm long ago. Vengeful Tiger Blade Technique was a normal blade technique. When he was young, he cultivated it before. However, after he reached the peak, he didn't continue. But he saw it. This unfilial kid actually cultivated the Vengeful Tiger Blade Technique to reach the peak realm. He was in shock. Even if Lin Fan was already in front of him, he didn't stop him. Father only has this much strength. Lin Fan thought about it. He couldn't just use the blade to kill him. He raised his leg and kicked out, striking Lin Wani's chest. Pung! Lin Wani rose into the air and flew backwards. His face was facing the sky. He looked at the sky. That furious expression disappeared. What replaced it was a happy smile. Father, it is best to know one's mistakes and change. The farm taxes are too much. Do you think I did the right thing? He panicked a little. A big landlord was kicked. If he got angry and cut ties with him, then wouldn't he be unable to become a rich family young master? Pata! Lin Wani landed on the ground and just laid there. The surroundings were really silent. Manager Chun, who sat paralyzed on the ground, looked at Lin Fan with his mouth agape. His eyeballs were about to pop out. Was this still the young master that he knew? Gozi rubbed his eyes. It was like he recognized the wrong person. Cousin. Zhou Mao stuttered. He only said the word cousin and didn't know what to say. At the entrance of the back courtyard, Old Wu knew that Old Master was coming to teach young master a lesson, so he chased over. However, when he arrived, he saw young master and Old Master fighting. He wanted to stop it. He didn't want Old Master to hurt young master. However, following this, he noticed that something wasn't right. Young master actually cultivated the Vengeful Tiger Blade technique to such a high realm. The heavens had opened their eyes. The stone in Old Master's heart could finally land. At that moment, Lin Wani climbed up. He was still expressionless. He raised his hand and pointed at Lin Fan. Unfilial kid, good job, really good job. His tone was really calm, but towards the end, it became heavier and heavier. The moment he said this, Lin Wani turned around and didn't say anything more, directly leaving the back courtyard. Administrator Chun and Old Wu followed behind. In the back courtyard, only Lin Fan, Go Zi, and Zhou Zhongmao were left. Lin Fan stood there, not understanding what was going on. He waved his hands. Go Zi, come over quickly. Young master. Go Zi's face turned red, and he was really emotional. Go Zi, tell me, what did my father mean? Good job, is it good or bad? If it is good, then why did he add the words unfilial kid? Lin Fan was a little lost. Who could analyze it? What was the situation now? Moreover, he was really tired. Using the blade was really cool, but it was just too tiring. Cultivating such a thing. It was still unreliable. Thinking about it, it was better to just enjoy life and just eat and wait to die. In the distance, Lin Wani held his arms behind his back and raised his head. He walked like the wind, leaving the back courtyard and laughing out loud. Ha! Good. Brother Wu, let's go drink. Old Wu's body shook, his muddy eyes turned red. Old master. What old master? What I was called in the past. Lin Wani smiled. Brother. Old Wu smiled. Since Madam passed away, he hadn't seen old master so happy. Haze, let's go. We won't return until we are drunk. How can my son be trash? How can the Liang family and Yuan family look down on us? Lin Wani laughed out loud. A smile appeared on his face, and he exhaled. Yes, thank you. Only when one is bald can one be the strongest alliance leader. Thank you, elder. Oh my God, this compensation is endless. Just beat me to death, but I will try my best. P.S. Thank you, 10,000 Chidian dollars from Elder 1416. Thank you. Chapter 13. Cousin, you're just too amazing. You actually cultivated the vengeful tiger blade technique to such a level. Why didn't you say so earlier? If I said it earlier, Uncle wouldn't be so angry. Zhou Zhongmao was filled with respect. Cousin was just amazing. Lin Fan laid on the chair, powerlessly, casually tossing the blade to the side. He didn't even take a look. Go Zi, get some fruits. Exercising on such a hot day is too tough. He then looked toward Zhou Zhongmao. Cousin, why didn't you say so earlier? It is so tiring, so boring. Lin Fan didn't have much strength, and his arms were really sore. It'd feel good to fight. However, as a rich family young master, he had to be careful. Fighting and killing wasn't good. Zhou Zhongmao scratched his head. Cousin, how is it boring? Cultivation is the most interesting thing. Lin Fan could tell that his cousin was a cultivation maniac. His body was really terrifying. Cousin, tell me, how strong is my father? What is his cultivation? Lin Fan asked. Zhou Zhongmao thought about it. I am not sure. Uncle didn't say how strong he was, but based on what I know, he is really strong. Although cousin is powerful, if Uncle were to really make a move, he would only need to lift a finger to finish him. He had once asked his uncle what grade 12 of the martial path he was at. However, Uncle didn't say anything. He just stretched out a finger and pressed down on his shoulder, making him struggle. He used all his strength, but he was unable to break free. Uncle was really relaxed. In the end, he said that the road was long and that there was no rush. So amazing. Lin Fan said in shock. Was that the legendary case of him going easy on him? That's right, he is really amazing. Zhou Zhongmao nodded his head. He worshipped Uncle's strength, and his eyes shone brightly. He wanted to become as strong as Uncle one day. When he heard cousin's words, he was originally a little stressed, but now he didn't feel any pressure at all. Rich aristocratic families, there were definitely many people who were jealous. There were also many people who had their eyes on them. If one day someone came to kill them, to snatch their wealth, to kick him down from his position as a rich family young master. At that time, crying for his parents would be useless. However, it was good now. Even his cousin said that his cheap father was strong. So what else could he say? If he didn't properly enjoy life and live the hateful life of a noble young master, it would be a waste of his father's tyrannical strength. Very soon, Go Zi returned with some iced fruits. Only the young masters of rich families could enjoy this. In the fruit platter, there were ice cubes. The fruit was very particular. The grapes were peeled, and the fruit looked like an apple. The surface of the fruit was engraved with the word rich. From the inside to the outside, it exuded wealth and honor. Help young master relax his bones, especially his legs. They're still trembling. Lin Fan said, "Okay, young master." Go Z squatted at the side and pinched with his hands. His whole body felt comfortable. Zhou Zhongmao's emotions fluctuated. He had not recovered from the scene just now. "Cousin, let's practice together later." Lin Fan took a look and waved his hand. "Not interested. Go play by yourself." It was a hot day. Sparring? He was drenched in sweat, and it was extremely stinky. Unless there was something wrong with his brain. "Dog, are there any empty fields in our Lin family?" Lin Fan asked casually. He could be considered to have dodged today's disaster. But it wasn't over. Father was a long-term investor in rage points, so he couldn't let him go just like that. He thought about something. On Earth, when many people reached old age, they would feel like they were useless. They felt like they couldn't help their children and that they were burdens. His heart hurt when he heard that. This was why he definitely wouldn't let such a thing happen. He had to let his father know that he was useful for his entire life. "Yes, there are many," Go Z said. The Lin Manor had many fields, but they weren't given out. The main reason was that the refugees didn't deserve to have fields. What a waste of resources. If we don't plant fields, can they still be called good fields? I have to make some arrangements during this period of time. He thought about it. He would do it just like that. No one could stop him. Go Z felt that something was wrong and panicked. "Young master, you can't do it again. Old master has just calmed down. If you make him angry again, then the outcome," he thought to himself. What exactly was the young master dissatisfied with the old master? Why did he always seem to be going against the old master? Lin Fan didn't care and said, "What do you mean angry? Even if you're angry, it is to help clear your bones and make your body healthy. Let's not talk about it. Continue to massage. Young master needs to rest." He was really tired just now. After this battle, he realized that martial arts weren't suitable for him. It was better to just enjoy life. Adding points was not bad. For example, physique. After raising it to 24, he was filled with energy, and he felt like his face was glowing. Outside U City, Wang Family Village. This was a village that farmed for the Lin family. They thought that they wouldn't be able to pay the taxes this year and would be treated badly. Who knew that the Lin family young master was so nice? Not only did he lower the taxes, but he also exempted them from this year's taxes. Although the entire village didn't have enough to eat, there was no pressure this year. The smile on their faces was so sincere. The village chief sat at the entrance of the village and smoked. His frown relaxed. He looked at the land in the distance. The heavens weren't on his side. There was nothing he could do. As long as he got through this year, next year would be better. He had to do what he promised the Lin family young master. Even if there was a drought next year, he had to pay the taxes. Wang Lao-san. In the distance, an old man brought a guy over. Although they hadn't arrived yet, that worried expression was imprinted on his face and couldn't be removed. Wang Lao-san looked over and said, "Why did you all come?" They were from the neighboring village. The old man was the village chief of the neighboring village, and the man was the old man's son. Wang Lao-san, what do you think we should do with this year's taxes? Haze, who knows when this damn weather will end? The old man sighed. His face was filled with worry, and he didn't know what to do. He then asked, "Do you have enough to pay taxes?" The old man came here to ask for some help, to see whether or not the Wang family village had extra grain to help. If they didn't hand the taxes over to the Liang Manor, the outcome would be catastrophic. Taxes? Wang Lao-san shook his head and smiled. This year we won't pay taxes. The old man was shocked. Are you crazy? Will the Lin family let you off? To him, Wang Lao-san was crazy. The outcome of not paying taxes was catastrophic. Even if the weather wasn't good, they had to pay. Uncle Wang, the Lin family is vicious. We can't cause trouble for ourselves. The guy said. Wang Lao-san raised his hand. It isn't like that. This morning, Lin family manager Chun came to collect taxes, but Lin family young master came too. He saw our situation and felt that we were pitiful. He took pity on us and told us not to pay taxes this year. He even lowered the taxes. In the future, no matter how much we harvest, we will only collect 10%. The old man and the guy didn't hear it clearly. They wanted to persuade Wang Lao San not to go against the aristocratic families. Suddenly, the two of them were stunned. They looked at Wang Lao San in disbelief like they had heard wrongly. Not collecting taxes this year? Collect 10% in the future? That was a lie, right? Or did he go crazy because the harvest wasn't good? P.S. Thank you. Yuing, Alliance Leader, thank you so much. P.S. Thank you. Shin Phantom God Needle, IAG_God Awakening. Such an awkward name. A healthy heart. Dai Green City. Not coming into contact with sunlight. 10,000 cheating dollars from the 6 elders. P.S. During the public period, let's slow it down, but we can ensure that once it is released, it will be easy to update. We definitely won't disappoint everyone. Chapter 14. That afternoon, the Wang family village tax exemption spread to the various villages. When they first heard it, no one believed it and thought that it was a rumor. If one wanted to believe that rich families were exempt from taxes, even pigs could climb trees. It would be a lie if the villagers weren't envious. Why didn't such a good thing happen to them? Some of the more agitated villagers wanted to rebel against the Liang and Yuan family tax system. But very quickly, the old men suppressed this kind of situation. They were asking to die, to rebel against the tax system of the two aristocratic families. On the second day, the entire village would be massacred. No one had stood up for them yet. But today, many people had already remembered the name of young Master Lin. To them, this was a great deed. They were about to set up a plaque at home to thank the Lin family young master. That night, Liang family, aristocratic family banquet. As the third young master, Liang Yongqi had a high status in the Liang family. But he had a brother and sister above him. The sister didn't care. She was going to marry out. To him, the only threat was his brother, Liang Yichu. Be it looks, height, or martial arts, his brother Liang Yichu was better than him. Even if he was better than him, he was thinking about how to become the heir of the Liang family, the only one in control. On the main seat, Liang family head thought about what he found out in the afternoon. He placed down his chopsticks and looked around. I got news that the Lin family kid went to the Wang family village and actually exempted this year's taxes. He even said that he would only collect 10% of the taxes. If the Lin family falls into his hands, they won't be far from weakening. When he said that, he felt that it was really interesting and drank a cup alone. Liang Yongqi said directly, "Father, that brat is trash, eating and waiting to die, useless. He actually has the time to pity those lowly commoners. When the Lin family is destroyed in his hands, let's see who will pity him then." Third son's words make sense. Liang family head nodded his head in agreement. To Liang Yongqi, when he thought about Lin Fan, the rage in his heart boiled. He lost all his face in drunk fragrance pavilion. He wouldn't let this matter rest just like that. "Big brother, don't you think that guy is stupid enough?" Liang Yongqi asked with a smile. Liang Yichu had a handsome face. His brows trembled slightly. "Third brother, I don't think that the Lin family young master is doing something stupid. This year's drought has greatly affected the harvests of the commoners. Appropriately reducing taxes or exempting this year's taxes isn't stupid. It is just giving the commoners a way out. Father, I think that our Liang family can also reduce taxes appropriately so that the commoners will remember our Liang family's kindness." Under the table, the second daughter of the Liang family kicked her eldest brother. "Tell big brother to stop talking." Liang Yongqi laughed. "Big brother, what you said is wrong. What is there to pity about those lowly commoners? There are so many lowly commoners outside the city waiting for us to show our kindness and give them help. 1 silvertail is enough for them to work for us, and 10 silvertails is enough for them to forget their feelings." Liang Yichu shook his head. "Third brother, you can't say that. No matter what, it's still a living life." Then he looked at his father. "Father, now that the Lin family has taken the lead, our Liang family does not lack this year's land tax. Why don't we exempt this year's land tax?" As soon as he finished speaking, "Pada!" The Liang family head smacked the table. causing the bowls and chopsticks to fall. Enough. You are too soft-hearted. If you don't take it, how will I hand the Liang family over to you? You need to learn from your third brother. Zhua City Su family's seventh miss came to Yu City today and is at the Yuan family. Tomorrow, third brother will follow me. Just stay at home and think about it. After saying that, the Liang family head left the table and walked towards the back courtyard. Liang Yongqi smiled as he looked at his eldest brother. He was slightly delighted. Big brother, it is useless to be kind. Just watch how the Lin family will fall to that kid. Then, he seemed to have thought about something. I heard that when the Su family's seventh miss came to Yu City, she faced some matters. I have to make arrangements. Big brother, second sister, please enjoy. I will make a move first. At the table, the old, weak, women, and children all lowered their heads and ate. How could they talk about such matters? Big brother, look at third brother. We are brothers, so is there need to target you like this? Second miss said furiously. Liang Yichu shook his head. Third brother is still young. He will understand in the future. At that moment, a maid walked over and carried a bowl of soup. Young master, second miss, this is the soup the kitchen cooked. Have a taste. Second miss looked at the maid and smiled. Yafei, you cooked it again, right? I am just a side character. After teasing her, second miss didn't say anything else. After all, this was the banquet hall. There were many ears. If someone saw, it would be a little problematic. That night, the full moon hung high in the sky. The Lin family back courtyard was really quiet. Lin Fan laid on the bed and fell asleep in a carefree manner. His snoring was very frequent, adding a hint of color to the quiet backyard. Creak, creak. The paper window was pushed open, giving out an ear-piercing sound. A person stood at the window. He wore a devil mask and looked really terrifying. Dressed in a black assassin's uniform, he stood there quietly. If it was a normal person with some cultivation and was really wary, they would have woken up long ago. However, Lin Fan slept really well and was even dreaming. How would he know all that? The black shirt man standing at the window wore a mask, and one couldn't see his face. However, if he took off the mask, he would frown. His voice was so ear-piercing. How could he still sleep? After standing there for a while, the black shirt man couldn't help but take out his dagger and drop it in the room. Quang dang. Ooh. Lin Fan was shocked awake. When he looked at the window, he noticed that a black shirt man jumped in. He was shocked. His heart creaked. Someone wanted to assassinate him? He thought about it for a moment. He didn't offend anyone recently. He only offended that kid from the Liang family. He wouldn't be so petty to come here to assassinate him, right? Who are you? You must know that this is the Lin family, and I am the Lin family, young master. If you do anything to me, my father won't let you off. Save me. There is an assassin. Come and save me. After Lin Fan said such nonsense, he shouted at the top of his lungs. Rage plus 30. The black shirt man didn't expect Lin Fan to shout. He stepped forward and clenched his fists. In this small room, he forced Lin Fan into a corner. That's too much. Take this. He shouted for a long while. Lin Fan was anxious. He could only try to see whether or not he could beat him. Physique added to 24, so it shouldn't be too weak. He used his hand as a blade and struck towards the assassin. As long as he had a chance, he would kick the door open and retreat. At that moment, they clashed several times. Lin Fan realized that this assassin wasn't much. It seemed like he could do it. At that moment, he cheered in his heart. I can do it. I can beat him. I can't be a coward. Small assassin, with your strength, you dare to find trouble with me. Didn't your father tell you that if you don't have strength, then don't assassinate me? Lin Fan used his hand as a blade and slashed towards him time and time again. Rage plus 50. Kiki, you are angry. Come, I'm not afraid of you. He panicked like a dog before, but now he was as calm as a pine tree. He would take down this thief in a while. Pung pung. A sound spread from outside. Cousin, I am here, hold on. Zhou Zhongmao shouted anxiously. Lin Fan was on the same level as the assassin, just as he was about to tell him not to panic and that he could hold on. With a pata, the assassin punched Lin Fan's right eye. After the fist hit, The assassin jumped out of the window. Before he left, a secret technique fell from his chest and disappeared into the darkness. My eye. It hurts. Lin Fan knelt down and covered his right eye. Tears were about to spurt out. The thief was waiting. One day, he would make you cry. Quang Dang. Cousin, are you okay? Zhou Zhongmao charged in with the guards and asked in a panic. Of course, my feels swollen. Do you think I am okay? Lin Fan covered his eye. It was really tough. Zhou Zhongmao instructed the guards, Find the assassin for me. Yes. P.S. Please vote for me if you have any votes. It's very important. Chapter 15. Not long later, the guards returned and surrounded the back courtyard. Teacher, we didn't find any traces of the assassin. A guard reported. Zhou Zhongmao waved his hands and told the guards to leave. Since the enemy dared to come to the Lin family to assassinate his cousin, he definitely made ample preparations. He was filled with questions. Although his cousin was strong, he was at most grade 1 on the martial path. How weak was this assassin to actually fail? Lin Fan looked at himself in the mirror and sucked in a deep cold breath. He looked at his bitter face and dark circles under his eyes. Aya, who did I offend? Why did he have to stare at my eyes? How despicable. As a rich family young master, he cared about his image the most. Cousin, look, this is what the assassin left behind. Zhou Zhongmao felt heart-pained. Cousin was in trouble. If he found this assassin, he would chop him into meat paste. However, the assassin left some clues here. Go Z, he got some eggs from the kitchen to help young master reduce the swelling. Luckily, he noticed it in time. If not, the outcome would be catastrophic. Lin Fan rubbed the eggs on his face. He glanced sideways and didn't care. His tone was filled with grievance. What is this? Purple sun for Saint Scripture? Cousin, this seems like a heart cultivation technique. Zhou Zhongmao was shocked. He didn't expect the assassin to leave a heart cultivation technique. On the martial path, heart cultivation techniques were really important. Just like the mental cultivation method he cultivated, it was the demon suppression heart sutra that his uncle passed on to him. Heart cultivation technique? What is the use? Lin Fan was furious. He wanted to find the assassin and punch him a few times. At the same time, he wanted to ask if apart from punching the eyes, what else did he know? Zhou Zhongmao just wanted his cousin to cultivate and said anxiously, Cousin, how can a heart cultivation technique be useless? Look, the moment he said that, cousin reached out, his fingers forming a claw. He clenched and the vase in the distance shattered. A formless power exploded out from his hands. One couldn't see it with the naked eye. Then, Lin Fan took a look. Cousin, the problem we're discussing is that your cousin was beaten up. So what is the use of heart cultivation techniques? Cousin, your talent is definitely unparalleled. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to cultivate the vengeful tiger blade technique to the peak realm in such a short time. As long as cousin is willing to cultivate the mental cultivation method, he will definitely become a peerless expert like uncle. Zhou Zhongmao tried his best to persuade him, hoping that his cousin would be willing to cultivate. Lin Fan raised his hand to stop his cousin from speaking. He was thinking about something. The mantra had fallen from the assassin's body. That meant that this thing was very useful to assassins. Dog. Lin Fan thought of an idea. Take this mental cultivation method. Tomorrow, make a copy of it and paste it all over the courtyard. Anyone can learn it. Yes, young master, Go Zi replied. Zhou Zhongmao held his breath. His cousin's way of thinking was too special. Lin Fan didn't want to think about those things. He waved his hand and said, It's late. Disperse. Leave some people to watch over me. The rest of you can go back to sleep. He was frightened by the assassin. If he didn't leave some guards to guard the area, he would really be afraid that the other party would turn back halfway and kill him, or even bring experts with him. When that happened, he wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Cousin, sleep peacefully. Tonight, I will guard outside and won't let anyone hurt you. Zhou Zhongmao said. Lin Manor reading room. Lin Wani took off the mask on his face. Brat, do you think it is so easy to kick your father in the morning? If Lin Fan found out that the culprit of his right eye was his cheap father, he would probably spit out a mouthful of blood. Was there a need for that? Revenge breeds revenge. How much of the past did he know? It wasn't good to have a peaceful chat. It wasn't good to fight. However, to Lin Wani, for this unfilial kid to cultivate, he spent a lot of effort. Not bad. The unfilial kid didn't disappoint him. Although he didn't cultivate the mental cultivation method, the strength that he displayed had reached martial path grade 1, especially his comprehension of the vengeful tiger blade technique. He had reached a level that normal people couldn't reach. Any cultivation technique had a realm. Basics, go to the next level, mastery, perfection, reach the peak, returning to true. These 6 realms, as long as one wasn't dumb and was willing to work hard to reach mastery, it wouldn't be a problem. The latter 3 required a certain level of comprehension. As for reaching returning to true, it was extremely difficult. Even a normal blade technique, like the vengeful tiger blade technique, if one could cultivate it to returning to true, the strength that exploded out would be shocking. Kachi. Old Wu walked into the reading room. Old master. Lin Wani smiled. How was the unfilial kid? Old Wu shook his head and smiled bitterly. Old master, your fist caused young master's right eye to swell up. Without a few days of rest, it probably won't disappear. After young master got that purple sun 4 saint scripture, he wasn't interested. Instead, he passed it to someone and said that he would copy it tomorrow. He would tear it open and paste it in the back courtyard. No matter who it was, they could cultivate it. Old master had put in a lot of effort for young master. He wanted to use his identity as an assassin to pressure young master. At the same time, he purposely left a heart cultivation method. Normal people would get it. Naturally, he was delighted. He couldn't look at young master like normal people. Young master got this heart cultivation method. Not only was he not excited at all, he even wanted to spread it out. What? Lin Wani retracted his smile, and his face was filled with rage. That unfilial kid really wants to do that. Old master, it seems like this method won't work. Young master isn't interested in cultivating. Old Wu said. Young master was able to comprehend the vengeful tiger blade technique to the peak. That is enough to show that young master's comprehension skills are extraordinary. If he wastes it, he will regret it. Unfilial kid. He really is an unfilial kid. When he heard those words, the rage in Lin Wani's heart started to explode. Surprise him in the morning. Give him nightmares at night. Retract the heart cultivation method. Lin Wani said. Old Wu thought about it and said, Old master, I think there is no need to retract it. Anyways, it is pasted in the back courtyard. Young master will see it every day, and maybe one day he will be interested. With me looking, no one will dare to steal it. Lin Wani sighed and didn't say anything more. He raised his hand and told Old Wu to leave. Old Wu left the reading room and walked out of the room. He raised his head and looked at the full moon in the sky. He sighed, Young master, you have to work hard. There isn't much time left for you. Next day, morning, Lin Manor back courtyard. Within the room, Lin Fan opened his eyes. The egg had been applied on his right eye for the entire night, and it had long since turned cold. He cracked open the egg and directly stuffed it into his mouth. He walked in front of the mirror. He is so vicious, and it still hasn't healed. Lin Fan's head hurt. His right eye had a panda eye, and it affected his image as a rich family's young master. Kachi. Gozi entered and helped Lin Fan wash up. Gozi, if I go out like that, will it affect my image? Lin Fan asked. Young master, your image is always so bright and eye-catching. Even if your right eye is a little black, it won't affect it. Gozi said. Lin Fan was helpless. It was useless to ask. Suddenly, he noticed that the rage points in the small support system increased by a lot. Rage points, 1,201. Last night, there were only 101 rage points. Why did it change so much after one night? Who was it? He didn't sleep and was still angry at him? Do you have nothing better to do after eating your fill? Chapter 16. Gozi saw that young master didn't say a word and just sat there in daze. He thought that young master was afraid that his right I would affect his image. Young master, why don't you not head out today and rest in the manor? Go, Z suggested. Rest? What is there to rest for? If I don't head out for a day, my body will feel uncomfortable. My right eye is swollen and black, so what? How can it affect me? Let's go pack up and head out. Call manager Chin over as well. Lin Fan didn't want to stay in the manor. It was unrealistic to stop him with a swollen right eye, even if he was blind and destroyed. That was impossible. Not long later, Lin Fan waited at the entrance of the Lin Manor. Manager Chun hurried over and wiped the sweat off his forehead. Young master, where are you going? He panicked a little. Young master was going out again. Even at this stage, he still couldn't stop him. If the old master knew what he was thinking, he would probably collapse from anger. Manager Chun, does my father know that I was attacked last night? Lin Fan asked. He knows. Manager Chun replied. Lin Fan was a little sad. He was so heartless. Since he knew that his only son was attacked last night, he didn't even come to console him. Haze, how sad and lamentable. Forget it. He should head out to have some fun and console the sadness in his heart. Cousin, are you going out? I have already arranged everything. From now on, I will guard by your side and ensure that the assassin won't be able to attack. Zhou Mao came. He couldn't let go of his cousin. With the first time, there would be a second time. Before the assassin was caught, he had to guard by his cousin's side. Cousin, who didn't sleep last night, go and rest. His cousin was really good, thinking about him every moment. Their relationship was really deep. Zhou Mao waved his hands. It is okay, cousin. With my current ability, I won't feel tired even if I don't sleep for 5 days and nights. This was the benefit of having a high martial path realm. Normal people would be so tired after 1 day and night. However, he wouldn't. Cousin, I will treat you well in the future. Lin Fan patted Zhou Mao's shoulder and sighed. What else could he say? He should be content to have such a cousin. Cousin, Zhou Mao's heart shook. He felt that he had gained his cousin's love. Cousin, Lin Fan nodded his head. He turned around and said, Let's go. Inside the mansion. Is the unfilial child in the back courtyard? Lin Wani asked. He sat there, sipping his tea. Usually, there was nothing much to do. As long as he maintained the order of his city, that was the most important thing. Old Wu said, Young master just went out. Crack. When Lin Wani heard this, he was furious. He clenched his fingers and the teacup shattered. He gritted his teeth. Unfilial kid, this unfilial kid. Why can't he change? Is he trying to anger me to death? Old Wu shook his head. Recently, the number of times Old Master got angry had increased. Rage plus 50. Lin Fan, who was strolling around the city, saw that his anger was rising again and didn't know what to say. Why bother? But that was fine too. He had a bit of anger, so it was not bad to add points normally. Adding points was still useful. He just buffed this vengeful tiger blade technique a few times. Shwa shwa. That was amazing. Even the way he looked at him changed. It was just that his physique wasn't enough. If he added it to physique, in the future when people hit his eyes, maybe he wouldn't be black anymore. Manager Chun, who planned this road, why didn't they use green bricks? It is uncomfortable to step on. Lin Fan said. Manager Chun was extremely flustered. Why did young master mention the road? Why did it give him a bad feeling? Young master, no one is in charge of this road. The cost of green bricks is just too high. Manager Chen said. Lin Fan shook his head and expressed his regret. Let's not talk about this. Bring me to see the empty farmland. Lin Fan had to find something for himself to do. If a rich family young master didn't do something shocking, then how could he be a rich family young master? Even if he admitted it, other people wouldn't. He had a basic understanding of his family situation. His cheap father should be an immeasurably deep expert. As long as he didn't leave you city and didn't ask to die, there shouldn't be too many problems. If there really was a problem, his father would take care of it. Okay, young master. Manager Chun was helpless. If young master wanted to take a look, he couldn't stop him. Forget it. Since that was the case, then he would play along with young master. The huge Lin family. In the end, it still had to be given to young master. He passed by Drunk Fragrance Pavilion. He met someone he knew. Oh, isn't this young Master Lin? What happened to his eyes? Who hit him? The heavens really opened their eyes. Liang Yongqi brought servants to buy things in the city. The servants behind him held big and small bags, but they all stood behind in fear. It was obvious that he was afraid of his third young master. Lin Fan stopped. Looking at how Liang Yongqi gloated, he was annoyed and scolded. What does it have to do with you? He choked. Liang Yongqi was obviously furious. Surname Lin, I am talking to you nicely, so don't be too arrogant. Rage plus 66. So what if I am arrogant? You are just the third son of the Liang family, and you want to talk nicely to me? Your big brother is here, so we can talk nicely. Lin Fan said. You. Liang Yongqi was easily angered. He panted, and in just a few words, he was infuriated by Lin Fan. Rage plus 88. Lin Fan didn't want to continue talking to this lowly person, but he realized that it was really easy to earn his rage points. Then, he would say a few more words. Lin Fan, you trash. You still have the face to talk to me. Liang Yongqi hollered in rage. At the same time, he was delighted and felt like he had the upper hand. The commoners all hid far away. How would normal commoners like them dare to offend a rich family young master? They could only avoid it. Let me tell you, you are an idiot. Lin Fan said seriously. Rage plus 100. As the third young master of a rich family, Liang Yongqi was afraid of everyone he met. This caused him to be speechless when facing Lin Fan, who had been baptized by the internet. He didn't know what to scold him with. What did you say? Liang Yongqi hollered. His eyes turned red. If his martial path was stronger, his head would be covered in white fog. Lin Fan didn't care. You are an idiot. 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 Rage plus 223. Liang Yongqi was scolded such that he couldn't retort. His chest rose up and down, and then he hollered, teach this trash a lesson. The servants behind him exchanged glances with one another. Third young master, are you serious? We have no cultivation at all. We're just normal servants. Let's teach him a lesson. At least let us cultivate for a while. Lin Fan shook his head regretfully. The Liang family, third young master collapsed just like that. However, it was still okay. His rage points increased by a lot. It wasn't for nothing. Cousin, beat him up. Lin Fan said casually. When one was outside, it was inevitable that one would face problems. However, with his cousin here, this problem wasn't a problem at all. He just needed to beat him up, so there was no need for so many things. Okay, cousin. Zhou Mao was really obedient. He didn't care that he was the Liang family third young master, charging up and beating him up. Pala Pala. Lin Fan didn't want to look. It was pointless. Clamoring. Screams. Ups and downs, some high and some low. If there was a musician here, maybe inspiration would come, and a passionate piece of music would be good too. P.S. Thank you, meritorious boss, Ran Chinchong, Illusory Phantom, and the other 3 bosses. Thank you. Chapter 17. Drunk Fragrance Pavilion, Roadside. Liang Yongqi lay there with disheveled hair. He did not move at all. No one knew if he was dead or alive. The servants' legs were trembling. Only by kneeling down could they ensure their safety. Why? Liang Yongqi's face was covered in tears. 2 streams of tears flowed down like a river, unable to be stopped. He was completely dumbfounded. His brain couldn't react in time. Then, he reacted, gritted his teeth, and roared angrily. Lin Fan, you and I are absolutely irreconcilable. The roars were like those of wild beasts. Rage plus 333. The servants lowered their heads, not daring to look at each other. The young master was beaten. He was very angry. Whoever touched him would be unlucky. The civilians who were hiding far away looked on coldly, as if they were watching a show. For them, there wasn't a single good person in the Grand families. But recently, he heard that the Lin family's young master was not bad. Liang Yongqi felt countless gazes on him. He raised his head and shouted, "What are you looking at? If you keep looking, I will kill you." The civilians in the distance were expressionless, minding their own business. They hated the rich and powerful, but they didn't dare to provoke them. Liang Yongqi got up angrily and walked away with his head lowered. He would remember this grudge. Bastard. Manager Chen felt that young master had caused trouble again. After beating up the Liang family's third young master, the Liang family would probably come to demand an explanation. With old master's impression of young master, she would definitely be very angry. More refugees gathered outside the city. In the words of the aristocratic families, these people were lowly commoners, inferior to even ants. Manager Chen, where did these refugees come from? Why do I feel like it's increasing every day? Lin Fan asked. Manager Chen replied, replying to young master, these people all came from different places. Some of their hometowns were destroyed by demonic beasts. Some of them died from natural disasters. There are all sorts of possibilities. No one cares. Lin Fan felt a little weird. What kind of broken world was this? No one even bothered to ask about such a thing. Think about the society he lives in. How good. When one side was in trouble, help came from all sides. No. Manager Chen shook his head. He felt like young master was going to be a busybody. Why didn't I realize that young master had such intentions in the past? It was very hot. The scorching sun hung high in the sky, and the morning was cool and refreshing. At noon, under the high temperature, it was possible to suffer a heat stroke. Lin Fan and his group of people stood at the city gates, looking a little out of place with the refugees. Many of the refugees noticed Lin Fan. Their faces were expressionless, and there wasn't even the slightest hint of abnormality. According to common sense, there would definitely be refugees kneeling in front of him for their loved ones, crying and begging young master and old master to save their loved ones. But look at the situation. But there were some things that were different. Perhaps to the refugees, seeking help from an aristocratic family was undoubtedly a dead end. Not only would they die without any dignity, but they would also be tortured. Manager Chen, do you think my father would beat me to death if I were to give the land to these people? Lin Fan asked. As soon as he said that, Manager Chen knelt on the ground with a thud. Young master, you mustn't. Manager Chen had lived for dozens of years, but he had never been so terrified before. Was he trying to scare someone to death? Get up, don't keep kneeling. I'm just asking. Lin Fan said. Manager Chen heaved a sigh of relief. That's good. But immediately after, what the young master said next completely shocked him to death. I was just asking. No matter whether or not my father will beat me to death, there are some things that I have to do. This isn't a matter of conscience. I'm thinking about the Lin family. If the land isn't planted, then it will only give birth to bugs. Lin Fan had his own thoughts. To allow this rich family young master to continue living, he had to fill up the empty land from before. The previous land taxes were really vicious, the kind where he toyed with people to death. However, it wasn't comfortable enough. If he spread out the remaining land, he would be able to gather most of it. Manager Chen's words to young master. He didn't know what to say. His words did make sense, but for some reason, he felt that something wasn't right. Cousin, do you think I am right? Lin Fan asked. Zhou Zhomao nodded his head. Right, cousin is right. Go Zi nodded his head. Young master was a person with foresight. He was worthy of respect. Manager Chun, don't worry. Just act like you don't know about this. I will take responsibility. Lin Fan patted Manager Chen's shoulder and said sincerely. It wasn't easy for Manager Chun. He followed him out. He had to bear such huge pressure in his heart. He could understand. He could sympathize. However, he had no choice. One had to bear pressure when doing things. If one didn't bear pressure, one wouldn't be able to do anything. Go Z. Tell them that I want to distribute land to them. If they have any thoughts, then follow us. Lin Fan said. Yes, young master, I will do it right away. Go Z's father was a refugee. He was lucky to be a servant in the Lin family. Although he didn't have freedom, he didn't have to worry about food and clothing. He was much luckier than them. Very quickly, Go Z ran towards the refugees. Manager Chin wanted to say something, but stopped. He really wanted to say it. Young master, can we not do this? If old master found out, he would be furious. Very quickly, there was an uproar among the refugees. It was obvious that Go Z had spread the news, causing them to be shocked and filled with disbelief. Did you all hear that? That is my young master. He can't bear for all of you to starve and is giving you a chance to rely on yourselves. If you believe, then follow us. If you don't, then I won't force you. Go, Z raised his voice. He represented young master, so naturally his aura couldn't be weak. He had the aura of an aristocratic manager. At that moment, the refugees who sat paralyzed on both sides of the road exchanged glances with one another. Is this real, or is it fake? Are there really such kind people in aristocratic families? No one moved at all. Maybe they didn't believe that there would be good things in the sky. At the same time, they didn't believe that the aristocratic families would give them land. Lin Fan felt that something wasn't right. Why were aristocratic families so wary of them? They didn't even want to plant free land. What kind of tragic thing did they go through for them to be so hostile towards such good things? Manager Chun heaved a sigh of relief. Luckily, the refugees didn't believe him. It seemed like there was still room for negotiation. What are you all thinking about? My young master gave you land, and you didn't want to plant it? Gozi was anxious. What was going on? It was such a good thing, and no one followed. At that moment, among the refugees, someone said, "How can something good happen to us? They definitely want to lie to us." Manager Chin said, "Young master, in my opinion, forget it. They won't believe you." No, I don't believe that no one will believe me, even if I give them land. Lin Fan waved his hands. He was a little unconvinced and said directly, "I am the Lin family young master. I never lie, you all," before he finished. The refugees were in an uproar. "You are the Lin family young master? If you are the Lin family young master, then we will believe you." The refugees believed him. When they came here, they passed by Wang family village and heard the people there say that the Lin family young master was a good person. He pitied them and exempted them from this year's taxes. In the eyes of the refugees, there was no way such a good thing could happen. However, they were sure that it was true. Then, what are you hesitating for? Follow me. I am rushing and have to head to Drunk Fragrance Pavilion to eat something good. Lin Fan rushed. This matter was really casual. He didn't do it on purpose. Lin Fan was in a good mood. He didn't expect his name to spread far and wide. Even the refugees knew about him. Not bad. Chapter 18. Manager Chen looked at the large group of refugees. He really wanted to knock his head against the side of the road. Young Master was too much. He thought about Old Master's furious expression. In the past, when Old Master saw Young Master, he was only disappointed, but now that disappointment turned into rage. The change was a little terrifying. Not long later. Oh my God, there are too many fields. Under Manager Chen's lead, they finally arrived at the empty fields of the Lin Manor. It was endless. It was just empty here and could be considered half abandoned. The fields were filled with green grass. Who knew what plant it was, but it was half the height of a person. Lin Fan looked for a long while and suddenly opened his mouth. Manager Chun, take a look. This is the farmland you mentioned. What a waste, but luckily I am a person with good eyes and noticed the problem. I was able to fix it right away. Otherwise, this farmland would have become a wasteland. I admit that my father is strong, but in terms of increasing the value of the manor, he can't compare to me. These words made Manager Chun confused. He could already imagine what kind of terrifying things would happen when the news reached the old master's ears. Young Master, think about it. Manager Chun reminded. Young Master was already an adult and had to be responsible for his own actions. Every word he said represented the Lin Manor. This was also why, although Old Master was angry when Young Master exempted the Wang family village taxes, he didn't change it. That was because Young Master said it. If it was casually overturned, it would affect Young Master's reputation. Think about it for a night. I have thought about it for a night, and there definitely won't be any problems. Lin Fan said. Zhou Mao had no interest in this matter at all. No matter what he did, as long as he was his cousin. The refugees who followed along looked at the boundless fertile land in front of them. They were excited, but more than that, they were heartbroken. The farmland was covered in green weeds. How good was this farmland? Now, it was abandoned just like that. Their hearts hurt. If it rained, they were confident that they could plant all these crops and no one would starve. Manager Chen didn't say anything more. Since young master had already decided, what else could he say? He just wanted to ask. What else could he say? Lin Fan turned around and looked at the refugees. Listen up, all of you. From now on, I will distribute this fertile land to all of you. Do your best. Don't think of planting more just because you have more land. It's not the quantity of land that matters, but the quality of the land. With the current situation, it's already very good if 1 mu of land can produce 200 caddies. But if anyone can find a way to produce 300 pounds per mu of land, I will give you 1 mu of land. It will forever be yours, and no one can take it away from you. As a young master of a wealthy family, he had to plan for the future. If you want to live a good life and work for a long time, you have to give others motivation, letting others support him. They didn't have to worry about food. There was no need to worry about safety. Cousin was so good, he had to treat him well. Moreover, he also had the small support system. He could add points when he had nothing to do, making life a little more fun. Humans, I have to dream a little. After 70 or 80 years, the number of points would increase. Perhaps he could also become an expert among experts. That was something that could not be guaranteed. An uproar. The refugees looked at each other as if they had heard the most unbelievable thing in their lives. Not only did he give them good farmland, there were also rewards. Although it was a little unrealistic to raise 1 mu of land from 200 to 300. They were all experts in farming and definitely had a way to increase production. It was just that they hadn't found it yet. Manager Chun saw that it was a done deal. So what else could he say? Young master is so kind. Why aren't all of you kneeling and thanking him? Manager Chun said fiercely. To him, he couldn't treat them nicely. He had to use a strict tone and a cold expression to face them. He wanted them to be afraid. Only then would he be able to control them better. Towards young master's actions, he actually didn't agree. Young master was kind, but as servants, they had to scold him. Instantly, the refugees knelt down and kowtowed in thanks. There is no need to kneel. Farm well. I will enjoy myself. Whether or not you can have a better life depends on yourselves. As for the land taxes, it will be the same as the Wong family village. Manager Chun waited respectfully at the side. Young master, I am here. Lin Fan waved his hands, giving off a feeling like he was giving orders. You will be in charge of this matter. Register the land, register the names. We will split the land according to the number of people. One person will have 5 acres of land, not counting the old and weak. If there are orphans, old and young, someone will take care of them. Count it as 2 acres of land. Also, split the houses here, and that will be it. Manager Chun was stunned by young master's words. Even if he was a good person, he didn't have to do things like that, right? When the refugees heard that, they were really emotional. Some of them were so emotional that they were about to cry. They didn't expect that there would be such a good family in U City. Lin Fan had his own plans. Had he seen dramas before? He had seen many ancient dramas. Some aristocratic families bullied people and faced a calamity, escaping with their last breaths. As long as someone helped, they would be saved. However, the key was that they bullied people. Not only did they not save the commoners that passed by, they would even stab them. Were they afraid? This was why to prevent such a thing. They had to spread their name and let the refugees remember it. As for those Shang family aristocratic families, they didn't care. They would bully people based on their status. This was a theory that wouldn't change. Young master, I don't dare to do it. Manager Chun knelt on the ground. This matter was really serious. How would he dare to do it? If old master found out, he would skin him alive. Go Z, you do it. Lin Fan said calmly. Yes, young master. I will definitely do it well. Go Z didn't hesitate. He felt like he had a heavy responsibility on his body. He had to do this for young master. Even if he lost his life, he wouldn't complain. Lin Fan patted on Manager Chun's shoulder. Manager Chun, you've disappointed me a little. Manager Chun buried his head. He was hesitating. He felt that this matter had touched old master's bottom line. If old master found out, he definitely wouldn't let him off. However, young master, I know. I can do it. Manager Chun said. He thought it through. If he died, then so be it. Who asked him to be in such a difficult position? Lin Fan smiled. Manager Chun, you have made me look up to you. I have high hopes for you. Let's go. The refugees sent him off. Lin Fan thought to himself, I didn't do anything wrong. Even if father was angry, he would understand in the future. Manager Chun followed behind uneasily. He panicked. Suddenly, Lin Fan stopped and turned his head. He smiled. Are you all hungry? I want to head to Drunk Fragrance Pavilion to have a good meal. I will treat all of you to fill your stomachs. Quang Dang. Young master, Manager Chun fainted. He even spat out white foam. Go Zi exclaimed. Manager Chun was walking well, but he suddenly fainted. What was going on? Cousin, carry Manager Chun, Lin Fan said. He then looked at the refugees. It looks like you all haven't eaten in a long time. Let's go. As long as you farm well and create wealth for me, then you are all good people. The refugees exchanged glances with one another. In the end, they cheered. Thank you, young master. Lin Fan smiled and walked forwards. This was life. He could do whatever he wanted. Spending money to buy happiness was just so carefree. As for whether or not he would be beaten up by his father, that was a matter for the future. P.S. Thank you, Shadow Alliance leader. I didn't expect you to read a few books and give this one a reward. Thank you. P.S. Thank you, Kinta's young mastering tipped you 50,000 cheating coins. You're an old friend of a few books. P.S. Thank you. Thank you so much for the 10,000 rewards from Big Boss 14 and Big Boss 16. Chapter 19. U City Gate. There were armed guards standing guard. Seeing a large group of vagrants gathering together and walking over, they became serious. What do you want to do? They had broken into the city and wanted to rob and pillage. The call to assemble rang out. Enemy attack. The vagrants revealed their true goal. They wanted to attack U City. The guards stood in a row with cold weapons in their hands. Their auras were grave and stern. As long as the situation was not right, they would immediately kill these vagrants. Dog, look at these guards. They even came out to welcome us. In the distance, Lin Fan smiled. In his opinion, the guards guarding the city gates were just decorations. Now that they were gathered together, could it be that they knew that he had done something great and were lining the streets to welcome him? Young master, the U City guards might think that they're going to riot when they see them gather together. Let me go clear things up in case there is an unnecessary conflict. Manager Chen poured a bucket of cold water on him. Young master still liked to daydream. Lin Fan was a little disappointed. So that wasn't the case. He gestured for Manager Chen to go. Manager Chen went from fainting and foaming at the mouth to calmly accepting it now. No one knew just how big of a struggle there was in his heart during this process. Even Lin Fan found it hard to imagine. Manager Chen explained the situation to the city guards. When Lin Fan brought the vagrants past, the guards looked at the Lin family young master with a complicated expression. They all felt that there was something wrong with young Master Lin's head. Given the status of the Lin family's young master, the people he hung out with should all be from the rich and powerful clans. Why would he hang out with refugees? But now, the Lin family young master mingled with these refugees. Gozi glanced at the guards and said softly, Young master, I really don't like their gazes. How would they understand your intentions? It doesn't matter. Not everyone is as righteous as young master. Being a young master doesn't mean that you were reincarnated well. It's more about magnanimity. The bigger the body, the more the other brothers and sisters can't squeeze out. That's the logic. Lin Fan said. Gozi was confused and didn't understand. Who were the brothers and sisters that young master was talking about? The Lin family only had young master. Drunk Fragrance Pavilion. A large number of refugees arrived, and the civilians who passed by looked on. How could refugees enter the city? Moreover, it was the Drunk Fragrance Pavilion. It was impossible for the city guards to let refugees in. As for the refugees in the city, most of them had snuck in without being discovered. But when they saw that the leader of the refugees was the Lin family's young master, the commoners were surprised. According to the rumors from last time, the Lin family young master invited the refugees to Drunk Fragrance Pavilion for a meal. Was it going to start again? Young Master Lin. The manager of Drunk Fragrance Pavilion looked at Lin Fan and ran over. He bowed and tried his best to please him. Arrange it, Lin Fan said casually. It was just a meal, nothing complicated. The manager looked at the large group of refugees behind young Master Lin. His heart trembled, but his expression remained the same as he hurriedly welcomed them. Young Master Lin, please. Everyone, please. The shopkeeper also didn't understand young Master Lin's intentions. Even if the Lin family was wealthy, there was no need to be so wasteful. Shopkeeper, as usual, these are all my men. Be careful. Lin Fan continued to sit at the side of the building. This way, he could see the situation outside more easily. If Old Man really came for him, he could also retreat at the first moment. When the refugees came to such a luxurious place, they were restless and timid. When they heard young Master Lin say that they were young Master's men, they were shocked. Their eyes were filled with tears as they looked at young Master Lin with gratitude, who said that aristocratic families were as fierce as tigers. Young Master Lin treated them really well. Go Zi stood behind young Master and calculated how much silver he had to spend this time. Without a few hundred, he wouldn't be able to complete it. Outside Drunk Fragrance Pavilion, the commoners didn't scatter. They gathered downstairs and discussed softly. What is this Lin family young Master thinking? Why would he treat refugees to a meal twice? Is there something wrong with his head? Shush, softer. Do you want to die? If you hear that, you can forget about having a tone. No way. I heard that young Master Lin did such a huge thing. Do you know about Wang Family Village? The weather this year isn't good, and it is a drought year. They didn't have many harvests and couldn't even pay taxes. Do you know what the consequences of not paying taxes are? Of course, the aristocratic families won't let them off. Right, that is for sure. However, Wang Family Village is under the Lin family's responsibility. Young Master Lin went over and sympathized with them. Not only did he exempt them from this year's taxes, but he only collected 10% in the future. That Qin family village is a little pitiful. Because they couldn't pay taxes, the lackeys of the Yuan family killed 2 of them. If they don't pay in 7 days, the village will be wiped out. See, a cold aura spread out from the crowd. It was just so terrifying. In the crowd, a guy raised his head and looked towards Lin Fan. Liang Yichu thought about it for a moment and walked towards Drunk Fragrance Pavilion. He wanted to get to know young Master Lin. He envied young Master Lin because he dared to think and do. He only dared to think, but didn't dare to do it. Within Drunk Fragrance Pavilion, Lin Fan was bored and looked at the rage points of the small support system. Rage, 2061. Who knew that in just a day, he would accumulate so much rage points? Who was it? Why was he so angry at him? If it was possible, he was willing to have a good talk with him. The small support system was good, but to him, it was just something he did when he was bored. At the same time, it was a display of his own ability. It reminded him at every moment, your own ability isn't enough, so you can't be arrogant. Physique, 24 internal strength, 0 heart cultivation, 0 cultivation technique, vengeful tiger blade technique. Reach the peak. Rage points, 2061. I am bored, so I will add points to play. Physique directly rose from 24 to 30. He consumed 600 rage points. Suddenly, Lin Fan felt that his body wasn't right, like there was energy flowing within his body. Puchi, an ear-piercing sound reverberated out. Cousin Yu, Zhong Mao, was in a daze, but when he heard that sound, he felt that it was really familiar. He stared at Cousin in disbelief. However, that sound was a sign that his body was changing. Nothing, I just farted. Lin Fan's face turned a little red. Damn, he was just adding points. So, why did a sound spread out from his body, and it was the same as farting? Did he have to be sneaky when he added points in the future? Couldn't he just do it openly? However, the line of words on physique had changed. Physique, 30, martial path grade 1. Before this, there weren't such martial path realms. Who knew that raising physique to 30 would allow him to reach martial path grade 1? That was a little interesting. However, he didn't feel any shocking changes. It was like he had muscles, and they were even firmer. No, cousin, you. Zhou Zhongmao wanted to say something, but a voice spread out from the side. Young Master Lin. Liang Yichu came. The smell in the room was a little weird, but he didn't care. He didn't have any problems with these refugees. Lin Fan looked at the person who came. He muttered in his heart, why was he so tall? What did he want to do with his handsome looks? Young Master, this is the Liang family young master, Liang Yichu. Manager Chen whispered into his ear. When Lin Fan heard that it was the Liang family, he was pumped up and said teasingly, why? I just beat up your brother, and as the big brother, you can't wait to take revenge? Liang Yichu asked curiously, what? You are still acting? Lin Fan looked at him. That was good. He would chat with him and see what he wanted to do. P.S. I'm kneeling down and begging everyone to give me some recommendation votes. Please, my new book updates are as weak as a dog's, but there's nothing I can do about it. I'll do my best to return it once it's on the shelves. Even if Guild Master lacks updates, I still have to return it. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.